Well, good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Spectre here on the old 5x5 channel. Here for our traditional Wednesday lineup here. Kicking off at 3 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host here today, Soko. How we doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. No, I think you missed the fact that the clock is on the other side of the 12 at this point, but forgive you anyway.
Good morning.
Alright, so that's how it's going to be. Well, good to see if you're joining here across the platforms. If you're joining on.
Elaborate.
What?
Sleep schedule has been messed up for probably going on 4 years. Typically, what happens is I get really messed up on my sleep, and it gets so bad that it circles itself back around. I'm on the end of the circle back around, so yeah,
Circle
not trying to
back.
be that. Yeah, circle back lady made me think of that as soon as I said it. But yeah, so yeah, this place will do it to you when you do the kind of this. We used to call it Discord time. So I'm gonna shut up and try to look up some stuff. But I have an interesting thing I want to play for you guys. I think after breaking has to flee with the CIA, but go ahead. I mean, I am just attempting to get kicked off YouTube. I can't tell.
Fantastic. I guess we're going for broke today. So if you're joining on YouTube, folks, appreciate you joining. As always, this may be our last. I don't know. We're always pushing the edge. Obviously, they're coming back on us with all sorts of stuff, going back through old crap, trying to hit us with copyright crap. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we may not be long for the old platform. That being
Uh,
said, get
I
get
think I've
on.
got 24 emails in like I don't know 2 days, 20 going back to 2.5 years. Then thank you, Connie Killer,
Maybe they're just being friendly.
Home, and Dug in. Oh, that's cool. Dug in. That's a good name. Thank y'all guys for winning. Yeah, I don't know. When they're after you, they come after you. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. So, anyway, as always, make sure if you are on the YouTube side, maybe I'll drop the old link tree. Make sure you get over to our other platforms, get signed up over there, etc., on the old D Lives, the Trovos, the Twitches. Yes, we're still up on Twitch, and of course, the folks joining on the Foxhole.app. You can find us there. Alright, well, it's been an interesting last couple days since we met last. Sunday, obviously, all sorts of funky business going on. We're in the throngs of, pulling out of Afghanistan, albeit haphazardly and without any rhyme or reason and lack of planning. Just basic government ineptitude all around. But, yeah, I guess maybe I'll start off with that article here today, obviously. So let me bring that up real quick here. Because this is what happens when you don't plan for things the way the Biden regime has tried pulling this off with Antony Blinken and company at the State Department, etc. Taliban holds huge victory party showing off U.S. military hardware. You know, when you leave about $85 billion worth of equipment behind and however many Americans that they are literally turning back. Yesterday we found out via some emails that were sent across, or actually text messages, I think, that John Solomon over at Just the News found. But yeah, the day after a defiant Joe Biden deemed his Afghanistan exit a quote-unquote success, the Taliban did a little celebrating of their own, holding a victory parade in the streets of Kandahar, featuring the Taliban army's new toys, of course. The Taliban Wednesday paraded some of the military hardware they captured during their takeover of Afghanistan, AFP wrote, in confirming the spectacle that mocked the whole U.S. debacle of a 20-year occupation that ended in handing over billions of dollars in military equipment. And bear with me one moment here. I don't know why this thing gets flaky. But nonetheless, let me go ahead and play this when it comes back up. Yeah, this is what has been going on since our departure. Got a nice little MRAP there. Brought to you by Oshkosh International. I'm sure those things are cheap. MRAP after MRAP after MRAP. So there you have a little parade they throw. Apparently they can, excuse me, drive the old MRAPs no problem, albeit maybe not so much on the old Blackhawks, who knows. But the parade even included a helicopter flying over a long line of Humvees decked out with the white and black Taliban flags. AFP journalists observed that a long line of green Humvees and armored fighting vehicles drove in single file along a highway outside Kandahar, the spiritual birthplace of the militant movement, many with black and white Taliban flags attached to the aerials. Yeah, that's about enough of that crap music. And more, at least one Black Hawk helicopter has been seen flying over Kandahar in recent days, suggesting someone from the former Afghan army was at the controls as the Taliban lack pilots. Yeah, I'd think that equipment might be just a little bit too sophisticated for them. And of course, I can't understand a word of that, but nonetheless, this is what the Biden regime has gifted them. Nice job, guys, and Pentagon and clowns included. Starting weeks ago, as Taliban militants began capturing base after base and easily steamrolled major cities across the country with little resistance, it became clear they were putting their newly acquired expensive American and NATO equipment to use, given they began taking cities in the south while riding in on Humvees and armored battle vehicles. And of course, many of the pictures from videos that we just saw. They've also positively invited journalists to document their treasure, losing no moment to show the cameras what the Americans left behind, and a constant insult to injury message to Washington and the West. And so during his speech on Tuesday, Biden hailed the U.S. exit and evacuation efforts as an extraordinary success. He said, "No nation has ever done anything like it in all of history, and the United States had the capacity and the will and ability to do it." In a deeply ironic, twisted, and tragic sense, the statement is true, just not at all in the way the president thinks. So, there you have it, folks. In essence, the complete capitulation as we have rolled out after 20 years. Basically, an extension of 44's regime. We know that. Third term, if you will. If you remember right, under 44, he bowed to the Saudi king. He limp-wristed, shook hands, if you want to call it that, with many of the Middle Eastern folks. And this is all by design. This is not something that, is just dreamt up yesterday. This has always been their plan, to project weakness. And the question is this a matter of Sun Tzu? If by chance we see that things are to the good, maybe not. I tend to believe not, but at the end of the day, this should amount to treason. Will anything be done about it? Because we have given aid and comfort to the enemy. My guess is not. We don't have anybody with the cojones at this point to do a single thing about it. My opinion. So we'll have to see in regards to that where this goes. All right. Well, that being said, let me switch gears over to our other favorite tyrannical bit of news. And that is talking about the old jabs and the scamdemic. If you were paying attention here in the last several days, you found out that Japan basically brought a halt to the Moderna jab for the simple reason that they were finding contaminants in it. Now, the question in my mind is it by design that was there, or did they just by happenstance find that based on shoddy practices, which we have found out over the last year has been taking place as well. could be a combination of the two. It may be, and I think this article gets into that, the fact that it's actually magnetic in nature. Is this indeed some of the graphene oxide in that has been spoken of? I don't know. Nonetheless, says fourth case of contaminated Moderna vaccine reported in Japan. Yet another contaminated Moderna COVID-19 jab has been reported in Japan, the fourth in less than a week, according to Reuters, which reports that several black particles were found in a Moderna vaccine vial in Kanagawa Prefecture. The remainder of the lot has been placed on hold. Last week, Japan suspended the use of 1.63 million Moderna doses after being notified of a contaminant, which could be metal and reacts to magnets. Obviously, that would have to be iron or ferrous in nature of some sort. Moderna and Spanish pharma company Rovi, which bottles the vaccine, says the cause could be a manufacturing issue. Kanagawa Prefecture said the vaccine's domestic distributor, Takeda Pharmaceutical Company Ltd., had collected the vial with the suspected contaminant and that about 3,790 people had already received shots from the same lot. Gee, I wonder if there's any TikTok vids of any Japanese sticking magnets to the side of their arm. Just a thought. More Moderna shots were temporarily halted in 2 other regions this week. In some cases, foreign substances have been found in unused vials, whereas others appear to be caused when bits of the vial's rubber stopper break off when needles are incorrectly inserted. Yeah, well, the problem with that theory is that a magnet isn't going to move a piece of rubber. That's not exactly how that works. Maybe black in nature, but no, it would have to be ferrous in nature for a magnet to move it. On Wednesday, Japan's health ministry said that the vial went to Kanagawa was from a different lot than the previous contamination reports, but has said that rubber stopper material appears to have gone into it during the manufacturing process, which would contradict last week's report that the material reacts to magnets, and that was precisely my point. Medical staff are being encouraged to perform visual inspections of vials for foreign materials or discoloration before use. So there you have it. In a nutshell, yes, they're moving to stop the Moderna stuff, at least for the short term, till they can get this business sorted out as to what exactly this garbage is inside the old vials. So stay tuned in that regard, and I guess along those lines, which one is best for you? Take your pick. Roll the dice, folks. Grab a die. I guess we'll have maybe one side left, but of the 5, you got Pfizer, you got Moderna, you got AstraZeneca, the Johnson & Johnson, and the Novavax. Now, if you take the Pfizer one, maybe you like your blood clots, your let's try that again. Myocarditis, pericarditis, your Bell's palsy, or death. Oh, Moderna, you say? Well, it looks like you can roll the dice and pretty much get the same thing. Or, actually, with all of them. So, are any of these safe? By all means, take the jab if you want to. But, if you're a reasoned person, a thinking person, a logical person who uses common sense and facts and things of those nature, and happen to have seen, the COVID file and that I've kicked out, you well know that every single one of these is probably not safe. And if you're being pressured by your employer or what have you, make them fire you. Do not quit. Make them fire you. Use whatever exemptions and things of that nature that you have to get by, but make them fire you and put the liability back on them. And we'll see what happens out of all that. My opinion. And that being said, Dr. Zelenko had this say a couple days ago. It says the current Pfizer vaccine was not given full approval by the FDA. Oh, wait a minute. I thought the other day everybody was harping and the media was running with the story that, oh, this was absolutely safe. And then, of course, you got Lloyd Austin over at the Pentagon saying, all right, military, snap out of it. Everybody must get the jab because it's now fully approved. Or was it? And as Dr. Zelenko says, the current Pfizer vaccine was not given full approval by the FDA. This trick shows exactly how Pfizer and FDA continue to screw the American people. And mind you, just yesterday we saw 2 scientists looking to step down here end of September, November, I believe. A couple folks high up in the FDA had enough of this garbage. It says the vaccine approved is called Comirnaty. It will not be available in the USA until the year 2024. This will allow Pfizer to finish longer-term studies and avoid liability for marketing a killer vaccine. The current vaccine that has an EUA, made by BioNTech Pfizer, got an extension of its EUA and will be used in America. This will protect Pfizer from liability because they are not actively marketing the killer vaccine. And if you recall, last Wednesday or Sunday, I forget which now, I pulled up the actual 13-page document that was part of this release, right, approval, if you want to call it that, whatever. And in it, it stated that over time, since the EUA was issued, they've had to issue extensions. And the jab that is currently out there by Pfizer, BioNTech, was extended from the August 12th extension. So it's been extended again. That's exactly what he's referring to there. The current vaccine is identical to Comirnaty, and I believe we read that in there as well. In other words, the FDA, Pfizer, and the media make a lot of noise about an approved vaccine that is not available for the next 3 years, while the identical vaccine gets an extension of its EUA, not FDA approved. The only thing that this legal trick accomplished is to fool the public and protect Pfizer from liability. This is a poison death shot, and you have no legal recourse because it has emergency authorization that protects the government and Pfizer from liability. That's absolutely true. Vladimir Zelenko, MD. I think his assessment is probably similar to many of the folks you're probably seeing kick out vids, ours, as we've read through this as well. So there you have it, folks. Again, snake oil salesmen. You got the Mockingbird media lying through their teeth because they're carrying the water for Big Pharma. Look at the commercials you see on TV every single day. Those that at least watch it. I sure as hell don't. I quit watching that years ago, threw the box away, all that good stuff. Can't stand it. Who are they backed by? Big Pharma. Do you think they might have a little financial incentive to, toe the line, if you will, for anything that they kick out? They're not going to say anything bad about it. Of course they're going to push it. Fear, propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, gaslighting, etc., all the ways in which they'll try and coerce you into taking the jab. Alright, well, aside from that, let's switch gears up a little bit. This was news here just a little while ago. Apparently, police are investigating a reported shooting at a North Carolina high school. So, amidst everything else that is going on, if it's not bad enough that we've got the Afghanistan shenanigans going on over the course of the last week, all the business going on with COVID, the fact that we've got Ida marching up through the state still, dumping boatloads of water, now, apparently, you get the potential for some more school shootings because, hey, don't forget what just came out yesterday, folks, in case you missed it via the CDC. Walensky and company are going to pick up the ball with the old studying of gun control as a health issue again. Oh, did you miss that? Yeah, that came out yesterday. Apparently, under DJT in the last 4 years, that was pretty much kicked to the curb. Walensky and company now say, hey, all of this business, aided by a report that came out saying there's been more mass shootings than ever. Well, who the hell defines what a mass shooting is? Is that more than one person, and so suddenly it's mass just because you say it is, per your own definitions? But this is where things are going to go, so how do we help shape that narrative? Hey, we got to whip up some school shootings to help back that and push this legislation, because, in order to enforce our tyranny, we got to take away the guns from the populace, see? How very convenient. So anyway, this came through just a little while ago. It says police say all students are safe, except for one student who was wounded during the shooting. A suspect has yet to be apprehended. Police say they're still actively looking. Now that summer is over and students are returning to classrooms, school shootings are returning to the headlines as well. Of course they are. Local police announced that a North Carolina high school is on lockdown after a shooting on school property. Winston-Salem police tweeted shortly after 1300 ET on Wednesday that they were investigating a shooting on the grounds of a local high school. Police announced that the campus of Mount Tabor High School has been secured and law enforcement are doing everything possible to keep students safe. The Winston-Salem Police Department tweeted, "At least one individual has been shot, according to media reports. We are actively investigating what happened and will share confirmed information when available," police said. And here we see City of WS Police says Mount Tabor High School is on lockdown. There has been a shooting on school property. We in the WSPD have secured the campus and are doing everything possible to keep students safe. Forsyth County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina says Mount Tabor High School is on lockdown. Been a shooting on the property. Pretty much verbatim of what we just read. Says update, they are transporting all students to the Robin Hood Family YMCA. Parents can report there to be reunited with their children. Reunification will take some time as students are being transported in stages. And of course, we thought the old saviors of the day, the FBI and ATF agents, are also responding to the scene. Well, thank God for that. I mean, what would we do without our alphabet agencies? Dear Lord. Students are heading to a local YMCA there, where they can be reunited with their parents, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office said. And pardon the sarcasm here, folks, but yeah, FBI, ATF, I'm sure we'll find out if there's been any video footage net captured and that, men in black suits just mysteriously running away from the scene and throwing duffel bags and trunks. I guess we'll find that out later. But nonetheless, let's switch things up a little bit here as well. I'm usually not one to talk all that much about pop culture, and this happened to come through my feed here today. This Britney Spears business. Out of Sputnik today, it says, Britney Spears' lawyer accuses her father of extortion, claims Jamie seeks $2 million from her daughter. And I've only semi-loosely followed what's been going on here, but the average person would probably just tune out to this. But here's why I think this is important, because to me it serves as a bit of a microcosm as to what all of us are going through. Not just in her case, but she is basically a slave to the system. Can't do much on her own without permission. I don't know how old she is at this point. Still in her 20s, 30s, whatever. But in essence, they have put her in some sort of, a receivership or something along those lines? I forget. Basically, she can't do anything without permission from her father, who has basically taken over the legal side of her estate. What?
Did you hear me? She's in a conservatorship.
Conservatorship. That's what it is. Conservatorship. And so, in essence, she can do nothing without permission. And all monies go to whoever is entrusted, basically, I guess, in the executor position, which would be her father, I suspect. And of course, this is all blessed by the court because of past incidents, whatever, that have got her to this point. But in essence, again, I say this is a bit of a microcosm because this is exactly what each and everybody that is a U.S. citizen to some degree is also experiencing with all this business. So anyway, I say all that to say this: the singer's battle with her father has been in the media spotlight for more than a year. She filed several motions asking courts to have her father removed from the conservatorship she has been under since 2008, 13 years ago. The courts repeatedly sided with Jamie Spears, but the musician's recent speech apparently changed the course of legal wrangling. What did she do? Well, Britney Spears' lawyer has accused her father of attempting to extort the singer, U.S. media outlets have reported. And on the 30th of August, Matthew Rosengart filed a supplement to his July petition in which he wrote that Jamie Spears is trying to get payments from the pop star in a so-called quid pro quo deal. Where have we heard that before about quid pro quos? Seems like we've heard a little bit about that over the years, have we not? Britney Spears will not be extorted. Mr. Spears' blatant attempt to barter suspension and removal in exchange for approximately $2 million in payments on top of the millions already reaped from Ms. Spears' estate by Mr. Spears and his associates is a non-starter, Rosengart wrote. According to Variety, the filing states that Jamie Spears is reportedly seeking $1.3 million from his daughter to pay attorney fees, $500,000 to the singer's former management company, and payments for himself. Well, of course, gotta continue to pad those pockets for that lifestyle that you didn't earn. I think we would better serve calling this jackass a succubus, a leech, a parasite. He produces nothing and extorts the funds from his daughter who does the work. Parasitic class, kind of like the elites, if you want to call them that, the Davos, the World Economic Forums. This is a microcosm of that.
I'll tell you the only thing that makes me think about this story, though, and I've put a lot of thought in this. I've read about what's going on with Britney for a couple months now. The part that I don't like, because it is the media, her father is paid $16,000 a month for this conservatorship. That sounds like a lot of money. $16,000 a month. He allots Britney Spears about $2,000 a week. I think she gets like $10,000 a month. But this management system over her gets paid $500,000 a year. I think they're paid $500,000 a year for their services, which is basically hardly to do nothing because she has managers and stuff for her concerts, things like that. So I understand people's, her dad is, should have had other people involved. He should have let Britney choose her doctor. They would force her to go into these offices. No one should have to go out in front of the paparazzi when the people could easily have came to her house. They took this girl's bedroom door off. They wouldn't let her remove an IUD. Told her she couldn't get pregnant if she wanted to again. Like they were in full control of her life. Her dad played a part of that, so I'm not undermining him. But if you think about $16,000 a month, he could have taken a whole hell of a lot more from her. I'll just leave it at that. I thought about that. I thought it was worth saying. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
In essence, she's a slave to the system. She can do nothing without permission. That's pretty much what a slave is, or an indentured servant. Anyway, the pop star's lawyer signaled that he has no plans to negotiate with Jamie Spears on his departure, as well as payments he reportedly requested. Jamie Spears' representatives have not yet commented on the issue. So, as the Free Britney saga goes, in 2008, following a series of mental breakdowns during which Britney attacked a paparazzi car with an umbrella, shaved her head, and became involved in a standoff with police, a court placed the singer in a conservatorship and named her father as a guardian. From then on, Jamie Spears has been in charge of the pop diva's life, from finances and career decisions to personal choices. A group of Spears fans later formed a movement called Free Britney that claimed the singer has been kept prisoner by her family, a claim her father and other relatives have repeatedly denied. Well, of course, if the getting's good, why would you want to try and upset the apple cart? In 2020, Britney asked the court to have her father removed from her conservatorship, but lost. The court, however, gave the green light to her lawyer's request for Spears to address the court directly about the issue. During a hearing in July, the singer accused her father of conservatorship abuse and claimed she was drugged, forced to perform against her will, and was banned from getting married, having a child, and even riding in her boyfriend's car unsupervised. I don't feel like I can live a full life, the toxic singer said. Nice that they included that. Thanks, Sputnik. Jamie Spears' lawyers denied that he was responsible for the restrictions placed on his daughter. Last month, he agreed to step down from her conservatorship, but stressed that the public doesn't know about his daughter's problems. If the public knew all the facts of Ms. Spears' personal life, not only her highs but also her lows, all of the addictions and mental health issues that she has struggled with, and all the challenges of the conservatorship, they would praise Mr. Spears for the job he has done, not vilify him. But the public does not know all the facts, and they have no right to know, so there will be no public redemption for Mr. Spears, reads the court's filing as cited by the Daily Mail. So, there you have it. The saga of Free Britney continues. And of course, again, it's total projection, just like we see the victim mentality of all this. Not for her, but obviously the fact that Mr. Spears would stand to lose so much. Because, hey, what would happen if she actually took control of this, got off all these drugs, going to all these clinics and whatnot, albeit whether it be her will or against her will or whichever. Is she not the one who is entitled to her fame and fortune and that for doing all the performances and that she does? What right does he have? None. And what happens if he gets cut out of the loop? Well, you may have to actually get a job.
I've actually done quite a bit of research into this story, and I will say that I want to be fair here. I will say that, like I mentioned before, the $16,000 a month is all her dad looked for, and you could tell he kind of didn't know what he was doing. When that management team came in, which kind of started all this, the Free Britney movement's been around for a minute, but it really got snowballed when, I think it was the end of 2018, that management system came in and sent her father an email and said that they wanted to up their salary. So now jump above $500,000. I think it was closer to $600,000. And in the email, her dad was like, well, that seems like an awful lot. I really don't know what I'm doing here. I need to ask. He was hesitant, and he even said he didn't really know what to do. But that's what started it all, was, that and the Free Britney movement kept pushing and pushing and pushing. TMZ started writing about it, which honestly gave it more traction. They were in the favor of the conservatorship. But yes, I will 100% agree. This woman has made, I think, close to $120 million since she's been in the conservatorship, probably close to at least $100 million. She's done 4 Vegas complete show sets, 2 world tours, started a product line. And again, she funds all these people. She's made millions, and she posted on her Instagram, I think it was 3 weeks ago, she finally got herself an iPad, and she was ecstatic. It was quite sad. If you want to see sad, go look up Britney Spears' Instagram. Look where she got an iPad. She was like a kid, that saw Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. It was, I don't know, it's gut-wrenching. This woman's made all this money, and couldn't get an iPad until recently. But yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I see that somebody put in chat "Toxic" as a song title. I'm aware of that. I was just playing off of the spoofiness of it that Sputnik chose to use. I just read wrong, in my opinion. But nonetheless, let's switch gears up a little bit here again, and let's head over to another interesting story that came out of Sputnik here today, and that is pertaining to the Epstein case. I don't hear too much about that with all the other shenanigans going on in the world, but this just came through. It says Epstein accusers' lawyers want Supreme Court action against prosecutor's secret deal with financier. By Oleg Buranov. Interesting. Probably about time to do a little update to bring us up to speed on that whole case here. I might be able to try and pull that together here in the coming weeks. We'll see. But Jeffrey Epstein, of course, died in a New York prison in August of 2019. So now we're coming up on a 2-year anniversary here. But while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges, with officials declaring that he committed suicide. Lawyers for Courtney Wild, one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers, has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to rule that federal prosecutors violated her rights by failing to consult her before reaching a non-prosecution deal with the now deceased convicted pedophile. Wild, 32, claims that the multimillionaire financier abused her in Florida when she was just 14. Epstein was accused of sexually abusing more than 30 minor girls between 1999 and 2007. Back in 2008, federal prosecutors blocked Epstein's prosecution for federal sex crimes in exchange for the financier pleading guilty to 2 low-level prostitution-related Florida state offenses, something that allowed him to avoid more serious federal charges. And of course, we know The reason why, at the time, the prosecution that was basically told to back off by people much higher salaried and much larger pay grades higher than himself, because he was quote-unquote intelligence. The disgraced financier served 13 months in jail between 2008 and 2009, much of it on a lenient work release program, made payments to his victims, and registered as a sex offender. Now, Wild's lawyers insisted in Tuesday's petition that the so-called Sweetheart Agreement between Epstein and federal prosecutors was concluded covertly counter to the Crime Victims' Rights Act, the CVRA. It says in the case below, a child sex trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein, was able to negotiate a secret pre-indictment non-prosecution agreement, an NPA, with federal prosecutors. Even after the agreement was consummated, government lawyers did not confer with Epstein's child sex abuse victims about it, and misled them about the agreement's existence, the petition noted. Earlier this year, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals voiced sympathy for Wild, but ruled that her rights under the CVRA were not violated because the government had never lodged charges against Epstein. Interesting. The ruling is being challenged by Wild's attorneys, who argued in the petition that the Justice Department's practice of covertly and deceptively arranging non-prosecution deals is illegitimate. You don't say. The DOJ would covertly and deceptively arrange for this? Very interesting. The en banc decision leaves the government free to negotiate secret, pre-indictment, non-prosecution agreements without informing crime victims, the lawyers argued. Wild, for her part, asserted that the government badly mistreated her and many others, adding, "I'm counting on our United States Supreme Court to take my case and give me my day in court." July 2019, Epstein was arrested and charged with sex trafficking and sexual abuse after 52-year-old Maria Farmer filed a sworn affidavit in a federal court in New York, alleging that she and her 15-year-old sister had been sexually assaulted by Epstein in 1996. In August 2019, the 66-year-old was found dead in his prison cell. Hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself. Throw that in there. With officials later declaring that he had committed suicide. The cause of his death, however, remains disputed amid conspiracy theories, wondering whether he was murdered to keep Epstein from testifying against his high-profile friends, including, of course, we gotta throw Donald Trump in there, Bill Clinton, and Prince Andrew. Please, nice job, Sputnik, on that one, on that last line. You always got to throw the DJT barb in there, don't you? Yeah. How many times?
We just have common sense in trying to figure out how a guy hung himself with 2-ply toilet paper. But,
yeah,
sorry.
And the fact that everything was bolted down, and yeah, just way, way, way too many coincidences for the old liking there. So yes, we're coming up on 2 years anniversary with Epstein. Didn't kill himself up in New York 2 years ago, August 2019. And of course, we've got Ghislaine sitting up there as well, waiting her latest dates. And there have been some developments on that. Didn't pull it for Showtime here today. But again, maybe it's worthy of pulling a complete show just to kind of bring everybody up to speed on what is going on there. All right, well, for the last little bit here, I'm going to switch things up and talk a little financial-related stuff here. So let me get into some interesting news I caught yesterday come through. Zoom announces first startups receiving funding from a $100 million investment fund. And of course, with the advent of this pandemic and everybody situated in their homes, everybody is jumping on Zoom calls, everything from education to now being used in courtrooms, which I find that extremely interesting, whether or not that should be allowed or not, but I'll reserve comments for that later. But for more than a year now, Zoom has been on a mission to transform from an application into a platform. To that end, it made 3 announcements last year. Zoom Apps Development Tools, the Zoom Apps Marketplace, and a $100 million development fund to invest in some of the more promising startup building tools on top of their platform. today. At the closing bell, the company announced it has made its first round of investments. Ross Mayfield, product lead for Zoom apps when integration, spoke to TechCrunch about the round of investments. Says we're in the process of creating this ecosystem. We felt it important, particularly to focus on the seed stage and A stage of partnering with entrepreneurs to create great things on this platform. And I think what you see in the first batch of more than a dozen investments is representative of something that's going to be a significant, ongoing undertaking, he explained. As he said, while they aren't announcing exact investment amounts, they are writing checks for between $250K and $2.5 million. They are teaming with other investment partners rather than leading the rounds, but that doesn't mean they aren't working with these startups using internal resources for advice and executive backing beyond the money. Every one of these investments has an executive or senior sponsor within the company, so there's another person inside that knows the lay of the land, who can help them advance and spend more personal time with them, Mayfield said. The company is also running several Zoom chat channels for the startups receiving investments to learn from one another and the Zoom apps team. It says we have a shared chat channel between the startup and my team. We have a channel called Announcements and a channel called Help. Then another one that the startups created called Community, he said. He says every week they use these channels to hold a developer office hour, a business office hour, which Mayfield runs, and a community hour, where the startups can gather and talk amongst themselves about whatever they want. Among the specific categories receiving funding are collaboration and productivity, community and charity, DE&I, I'm assuming that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and people ops, and gaming and entertainment, and the collaboration and productive category. Warmly is a sales tool that provides background and information about each person's participating in the meeting ahead of time, while allowing the meeting organizer to create customized Zoom backgrounds for each event. Blah, blah, blah. All right, I think I'll break from that there. I think we get the point. The bottom line, Zoom appears to be expanding. And, of course, keep in mind, folks, that Zoom is not necessarily our friend. Now, are they? So think back to what has happened with Huawei and all the stuff going on with telecommunications there. Switches built in and things, backdoor entrances and that into a lot of the equipment. Zoom, as we saw it rise in use last year because of the pandemic. Of course, we found out that most of their communications gets routed back to and through China. CCP. Oh, for your protection, I'm assuming, right? So, is it really a good idea, folks, paying attention that we continue to allow these outfits to run amok in our country? Shouldn't we be taking the obverse position and get off of these platforms? You know, great. They want to expand. Fine. Quit rerouting all your crap through CCP servers. You don't need to be seeing that. Nobody does. And you want to expand that to more applications to ensnare more people for your own collection purposes? We've already got the Five Eyes. We've already got NSA and everything else spying on us left and right. Our Fourth Amendment is totally gone. But that's perfectly okay. Just continue doing what you're doing. In the meantime, I think I will wait for people like Gab, who have already spread out their platforms. Now, basically, we're waiting for a Zoom equivalent. So they have kind of actually taken the reverse approach. They built their platforms out first, totally separated, but linked, obviously. You can't take any one of them down and expect that the whole kit and caboodle is going to go down. It's not. And their Zoom equivalent should be no different. So I look forward to that. Hopefully it'll be a strong competitor to that. And we'll go from there. And a couple other interesting items by way of finance here today. We got some news on the old payroll side of things. Today we got the ADP report. Says the job market recovery is dented. ADP private payrolls miss huge, only 374,000 jobs added in August. Well, color me shocked. I mean, gee, folks, what do they think is going to happen here? Are we going to rub a bottle and a genie is going to come out and we're going to poop fairy dust with unicorns and all is going to be well when you got people locked down, masked up, taking jabs, blah, 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 etc., etc., just to maintain their jobs? Do these nitwits honestly believe that this charade can be kept up without consequence? Do they think people are just going to roll over, roll up their sleeve, take the jab, take the weekly test if you refuse, and magically all this stuff is going to fall into place and you're going to go la 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 in the profit land? Frickin' idiocy. I've never seen such in my life. For the second month in a row, the ADP private payroll employment report has been a complete disaster. And 1 month after the ADP missed by almost half, printing at 330,000 in June. Of course, that missed expectations of 683,000. Moments ago, ADP reported that private payrolls in August rose just 374,000, which, while a modest improvement from July's downward revised 326, which was the lowest since February, was again a huge miss to the 638,000 expected and was in fact below the lowest forecast by polled economists that said 400,000. What are we going to learn on all this economy crap? Not to trust the pollsters. They're usually wrong. This is our data, which represents all workers on a company's payroll, has highlighted a downshift in the labor market recovery. We have seen a decline in new hires following significant job growth from the first half of the year, said Neela Richardson, chief economist at the ADP. Says despite the slowdown, job gains are approaching 4 million this year, yet still 7 million jobs short of pre-COVID-19 levels. Service providers continue to lead growth, although the Delta variant creates uncertainty for the sector. Job gains across companies' sizes grew in lockstep, with small businesses trailing a bit more than usual. Mark Zandi, chief economist of Moody Analytics, said the Delta variant of COVID-19 appears to have dented the job market recovery. Well, duh. Says job growth remains strong, but well off pace of recent months. Job growth remains inextricably tied to the path of the pandemic. For the second month in a row, medium-sized businesses added the most jobs. So here's a little bit of the breakdown by small businesses. They added about 86,000. Medium businesses about just under 150,000. Large businesses right around the 140,000 mark. Goods producing, that was set at about 45,000. And of course, service providing, that was right around the 330,000 mark. Of course, always got to be the waiters and bartenders index and, pillow fluffers, I guess, at the old Days Inn. The services economy continues to dominate the recovered jobs in June, with only 12,000 manufacturing jobs added. More ominously, the only jobs added were waiters and bartenders, leisure and hospitality. And there we see the breakdown there. Finally, it's worth noting that the ADP has underguessed non-farm payrolls in 5 of the last 7 months. And remember that Fed Governor Christopher Waller recently said the U.S. Central Bank could start to reduce its support for the economy by October if the next 2 monthly job reports show employment rising by 800,000 to 1 million, as he expects, adding that there's no reason to go slow on tapering the Fed's bond purchase program. So, if today's ADP print is anything to go by, and if for once ADP is predictive of what this Friday's payrolls will reveal, then we may well have a major taper problem as inflation soars, yet as the job market suddenly crumbles, leading to the dreaded stagflation. So there you have it, and this on the heels of Jackson Hole just last week. You got the Fed, Jerome Powell, FOMC, folks all sitting in the hoity-toity land of Jackson Hole, Wyoming last week, trying to determine whether or not to taper, and of course, no guidance given. I've explained this before, they really can't, because if interest rates rise at all, even by the slimmest of basis points, it will basically wipe out corporations who have well overextended their debt obligations at this point. And it can't be done. So Yeah, Zero Hedge probably has got this right. We'll see what the print does at the end of the week with the government fudged numbers, I'm sure. And we'll see what happens there. And of course, last but not least, here today, Fidelity set to hire 9,000 more employees after already adding 4,000 employees this year. So I guess service sector, just spoken of, non-manufacturing. I guess finance is still doing fairly well with Fidelity. The gamification of trading at this point, like Robinhood. Fidelity, I'm sure, is wanting to get into that realm as well. Says the work-from-home model isn't stopping Fidelity from hiring up to 9,000 new employees before the end of 2021. The company is in the midst of seeing record growth, thanks to stock trading, despite the fact that SEC Chair Gary Gensler commented this week that the agency was potentially looking to crack down on quickly growing brokerages that benefit from payment for order flow. The company is going to be hiring focused on client interactions and technology, Bloomberg noted this week. Says new hires will also be tasked with helping with the company's new products, including Fidelity's Youth Account. Oh yeah, how nice. The report says this new account provides investing and savings accounts to kids aged 13 to 17. Oh yeah, you gotta rope them in young, folks. You get them stuck to an iPad or a phone or something at an early age, and Game of Thrones, Fortnite, or whatever the heck game you play. Gamify some things on an iPad or a phone, and we'll whip some finance behind it. Pretty soon you'll have some real stuff playing out here, won't we? I mean, it's all just games, right? I mean, it's not real. Unless you get some cases like Robin Hooders here in the past several months who lost it all, commit suicide, can't deal with it. The kid is in his teens. Great model, Fidelity. Nice job. Fidelity is...
We're back.
Getting there.
Let me see where we're at. Like pain in the ass thing is that when I do that, it covers all the stuff, on Foxhole, because I don't have to set up another whole recording. It just covers that other one.
All right. I think we're back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to. Oh, sorry. No. Oh, shoot. Yep. Switch it to the gallery. Man, that sucked. And when it started, you seemed like I had no issues with Casey the other night. That's why I did the show on Monday. And here we go again. I do think, guys, it has something to do with that laptop's been running pretty hard for 2 years. And it's starting to get really hot, and that could be playing something into it. But yeah, so here, sorry. Well, Ken, if you don't mind continuing here.
Yes, I may have to start back over because I'm not sure, according to what we saw, that the whole thing was captured. So scratch first 10 minutes. Try that again.
All right, there you go.
Alright, so tee this thing off. Cable news military experts are on the defense industry dole. That's out of The Intercept. Many former military and public officials appearing in the news have more than a patriotic interest in a continued occupation. Jack Keane has had a busy week. The retired four-star general has been making cable news rounds, offering scathing criticism of the White House in wake of the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan. On Wednesday, he appeared on Fox News where he told host Harris Faulkner that the administration made a terrible mistake in pulling our troops out and giving the Taliban the opportunity to take the country over. Says it's going to become a more dangerous place, threatening America, he warned, and the world's going to be a more dangerous place. On another Fox News program earlier in the week, Keane attacked President Joe Biden's withdrawal plan as embarrassing and ill-conceived, suggesting that the administration should have delayed until sometime next year. Continuing on, says what neither Keene nor the host in either of these segments mentioned is that he has more than merely a patriotic interest in the continued occupation. Keene, a former board member of weapons maker General Dynamics, is chair of AM General, the company that makes Humvees. He also sits on the boards of Siloam Technologies, Inc., which manufactures military chemical lights and other technology deployed on the battlefield in Afghanistan, and the Institute for the Study of War, a think tank that publishes defense policy proposals with the aim of developing the next generation of national security leaders, and is backed by CACI International, Inc., General Dynamics, and other defense contractors. The epitome of what General Eisenhower warned in his address. Keene was just one of a parade of ex-military and ex-public officials who appeared on cable news this week to castigate the Biden administration for its withdrawal or for the way it was carried out. Among the other talking heads who took to cable news segments or op-ed pages without disclosing their defense industry ties were retired General David Petraeus, Rebecca Grant, a former staffer for the Air Force Secretary Richard Haas, who worked as an advisor to then Secretary of State Colin Powell, and former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. Cable hosts described these guests by their military credentials, not their current jobs as representatives of the defense industry, a sector that has been seen extraordinary profits from the 20-year occupation of Afghanistan. Of course, Petraeus, a retired four-star general who leaked classified information to his mistress and biographer, serves on the board of Optiv Security, a large cybersecurity firm that contracts with the Department of Defense, and is a partner of KKR and Company, a global private equity firm with assets in the defense sector. In early 2020, KKR bought Novaria Group, a corporation holding a growing number of aerospace manufacturers. He called the Afghanistan withdrawal a Dunkirk moment on Fox News and told the BBC, "We should literally reverse the decision," adding, "I feared we would come to regret the decision, and we already are. There's no good outcome unless the United States and its allies recognize that we made a serious mistake." Oh yeah, we want to keep that cash cow going in this forever war. It was never intended to be won. It was meant to go on forever, keep pumping the dollars to and through the military-industrial complex to line the pockets of all the execs and the brass from the military that go be mouthpieces for them. Right, Petraeus?
That's why we say watch the narrative coming out from both sides. If everybody's saying it, don't think they're just all genuine about their delivery.
Like Keene, Petraeus sits on the board of the Institute for the Study of War. The two ex-military officials are joined by two executives at major defense contracting companies and former Senator Joe Lieberman, out of Connecticut, known for being a friend of defense contractors. Nothing shows the value of American force presence like the absence of American forces as we've seen in the past month, said the think tank's founder and president Kimberly Kagan in an interview with Fox News. America lost the war in Afghanistan, but it matters that we fought it, wrote its national security fellow Jennifer Caffarella in a blog post. No nation on earth has ever done more to advance the cause of freedom. No people has sacrificed more. Americans should be proud of that fact, even in defeat. Haas, described on MSNBC as the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, the lovely CFR, questioned the decision to withdraw and leveled criticism at the way it was handled. The first-order question is, why the policy? He said, "I think an incorrect policy was selected here by the president, obviously against many of the advices he was receiving from the military and others." Haas did not mention, that he sits on the board of investment from Lazard, which actively serves companies in the industrial sector, including aerospace and defense. Nor did he mention his role with Palantir, a leading tech firm in the defense intelligence space. That would be Peter Thiel's company. Former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta appeared on Clown News with John King to lament a Bay of Pigs moment. He was referred to by his previous government service by Democrats rather than its senior counselor to Beacon Global Strategies, a defense consulting firm, or as a member of Software Corporation Oracle's board of directors. Just some inconvenient truths they must have just haphazardly omitted. Cable news has been criticized in the past for its refusal to reveal conflicts of interest. In 2008, the New York Times exposed direct influence by the Pentagon of retired generals appearing on cable to talk about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Sorry, I heard your voice coming in the background. I was trying to find it really fast. There you go.
All right. These conflicts of interest just don't manifest on cable. They can also be found in online and print journalism. Grant penned a column for Fox News arguing that the blame for the chaos in Afghanistan rests squarely with Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken. To his credit, Fox noted in her bio that as head of IRIS Independent Research, she has specialized in research for government and aerospace industry clients. When she appeared on CNN Monday to make the same case, viewers were not told of her defense industry ties. Rice, Secretary of State under President George W. Bush, took to the pages of the Washington Post to argue for more time. 20 years was not enough to complete a journey from the 7th century rule of the Taliban and a 30-year civil war to a stable government, she said. Where'd I go? Eliding the U.S. role in toppling the pre-Taliban government. All right. 20 years may also not have been enough to consolidate our gains against terrorism and ensure our own safety. We and they needed more time. She was described with her government titles as well as a current one, director of the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. Left off the bio was her service on the board of C3AI, a defense contractor. Many media outlets also tapped former members of Congress to weigh in on the troop withdrawal without disclosing financial ties to the defense contractors that have profited handsomely from the conflict. If I was in charge, I wouldn't have made that decision, said former Senator Kelly Ayotte, speaking to New Hampshire Journal. Ayotte warned that leaving Afghanistan would mean that Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, and other terrorist groups would rapidly reconstitute in a way that would threaten our homeland in the course of 18 to 24 months. Earlier this week, she also appeared on Fox News, slamming the withdrawal as an intelligence failure that will embolden countries like China and Russia in furthering their narrative, which I do not believe is true, that the U.S. is no longer the superpower. But the outlets that gave Ayotte a platform did not disclose that she currently serves as a board member to BAE Systems, Inc., the U.S. subsidiary of the British defense conglomerate that has raked in substantial defense contracts throughout the war in Afghanistan. BAE Systems has been tapped for a variety of services for the Defense Department, including a $50.5 million contract to provide intelligence services for U.S. troops stationed in Afghanistan, a $2.7 billion contract for the production of an advanced precision kill weapon system for use in Afghanistan, among other countries, and a $21.9 million contract for services related to maintaining armored vehicles used in Afghanistan. Trey Gowdy, a former GOP lawmaker from South Carolina, has similarly slammed the Biden decision. He appeared last Sunday on Fox News to deliver a stern monologue, warning that the Biden administration had not kept our word to protect the Afghan people. After his service in Congress, Gowdy joined Nelson Mullins, Riley & Scarborough, LLP, a South Carolina-based law and lobbying firm that serves a range of defense contractors before Congress and helps defense clients navigate the procurement process with the Pentagon. Fluorocorp, the largest fiscal year 2016 fiscal year 2021 contractor in Afghanistan, which obtained over $3.1 billion in Afghanistan-related projects, is among Nelson Mullins' most lucrative lobbying clients. Gowdy has since left the firm. The question is, have we kept our word? Have we kept our word to the world that if you attack America, we will follow you to the ends of the earth to mete out our punishment, no matter how long it takes? Have we kept our word to one another that never again will an attack like this happen on American soil? Gowdy said. Gowdy went on to suggest that U.S. troops should not return home unless we're leaving Afghanistan safer and freer and better for Afghan women and girls. Isn't that always about the women and children, seemingly? Jen Narekas, an editor at Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, or FAIR, a progressive media watchdog, said such conflicts of interest put a premium on potential atrocities over existing ones. The imaginary future bloodshed of the Taliban has so much more emotional weight in the coverage than the actual people who have been killed by the U.S. in the last 20 years, he said. There's a symbiotic relationship between media outlets who need sources, the weapons industry that needs favorable news coverage, and the former military officials who need jobs, and it all works out together.
And I want you, and thank you for reading that for me. I do appreciate it. I want you to remember the last sentence there that he read. There's a symbiotic relationship between the media outlets who need sources, the weapons industry that needs favorable news coverage, and the former military officials who need jobs, and it all works out together. Please, during all this, remember, most of all these people work on the same damn teams, okay? You can disagree with me if you want to, but I'll do it better. This is my opinion. There's no such thing as Republicans or Democrats. There isn't. They all will sit there and bitch and complain to keep you preoccupied, to tell you they're so mad, but they don't do a damn thing to stop anything, ever. They'll tell you that they're going to, we sent a mean letter to Nancy Pelosi. Fast forward 2 months later, not a damn thing's done. January 6th happened on Capitol Hill, and people are still sitting right damn jail. Some of them don't even have misdemeanor charges put on them. But yet the person that shot Ashley Babbitt, who was an unarmed person, wasn't even charged, was released of all charges, and they hid him like they did Carmelo. But yet, if you're a Trump supporter, they'll blast you if you get into a street brawl with someone, but Antifa can burn the damn city down. Think about the narrative. It's all to keep us all pissed off, to keep us all distracted, while these people are all in the same damn boat rowing. And I asked Breaking to read that because I brought up this, there's this woman, and I just got 2 of her books. I like books in my hand, I do, but I had a couple of my Kindle points I needed to spend. And so this is the woman, if you've never heard of her, Annie Jacobson. These are the 2 books that I've got that I need to go through. She actually does her own Audible. She reads her own books. I do like books in the hand, but whatever, it is what it is. So she wrote the Area 51, probably not what you think it is. And then this is her latest one, Surprise Kill Vanish, Secret History of CIA Paramilitary Armies, blah, blah, blah. But she did an interview where she's talking about the Pentagon and DARPA. And I feel like I'll be honest with y'all, I let kind of the Lord guide me where I feel like I need to go. I've been doing a lot of research here lately, digging back into Scientology, which I've done before. So I'm not definitely. I'm digging back into Scientology because of things that these people do, where they call think about a suppressive person. What they call a suppressive person is anybody that does not agree with their, indoctrination, right? Their cult-like behavior. What is fair game? Fair game is where it's absolutely positively no holds barred. If somebody's speaking out against that church, you can do whatever you want to. You can go after their family. You can go after their job and their career, all this stuff. You can go after all of it. When Breaking had to go, he had somebody coming over to his house to check on something. He has some repairs. But so please, guys, remember that we even myself, I'll speak for myself here, and a generalization. we, even people in this community, people like me, other people you go listen to, most people are pulling the news from sources and then reading it to you. Okay. I was back in the day from the beginning where we did that when Q posted, we did all this research. I mean, we would go digging and digging and digging, and behind the scenes, and the Chan was posting shit like crazy. And we go in there and figure out what the Chan was finding out. And if you had something to add, you jump in for a minute, throw your shit in there and get the hell out. Because I'm not going to lie, there's titty pictures everywhere, whatever. I'm a chick. I didn't want to see that crap. But it is what it is. I don't care. Let the Chans be the Chans. You see what happens when you take your freedom away. So let the Chans be free. But so I just remember that you are getting still spoon fed from whatever media that somebody's reading. So I think it behooves us to like this Interceptor. When Breaking first started reading it, he was kind of like, "Oh, the Interceptor, take that for what you will." Just remember, look at how good that article was. It tied all those people into the military-industrial complex. They thought because they were, say leftists, more left-leaning, that they're dragging all these people that all these news pundits pay to come on and be advisors, right? What they just highlighted is all their ties into the military-industrial complex, all these millions and billions of dollars of contracts, while they would be motivated to keep us at war. So I don't give a shit if it's Red Tin Roofie, a Reader's Digest, or if it's Luna Lena's Lefty Love Fest. I don't care, as long as the information in it you can confirm it. You can look at the research they've done and you go, you know what? Yep, that's true. Yep, you can figure that out. Oh, go look at their tax returns. And, yep, they are tied in there. Who they got stocks and shares with? So just that's all I ask. Is just kind of, if I can give you any friendly advice, is just remember that all these people have a fucking agenda, and that agenda is to keep you confused and to push out a narrative and to lie their ass off. And if you wonder what your government will do to you, just think back to Operation Paperclip. They were willing to go over to Nazi Germany and bring back scientists and stick them in departments for the United States of America, our most classified programs like NASA. That's your damn government. And that was back before we had smartphones and the internet and all that shit. They are assholes. They don't care about us. So, it is what it is. All right. Oh, thanks. What is it? Stark 788 Go Pills. Oh, that's cool. I've never seen 788. Pretty cool number. Okay. So I'm going to, again, I suggest you check this chick out. If you want to, she's a chick. Listen to me. Check this lady out. She's pretty interesting. I'm going to play some of this for you. She's really has dug into some of this stuff. It's pretty amazing. And I'm going to play some of this for you guys. Hopefully you enjoy it. This is what I'm doing, by the way, is I'm digging back and looking back at people I remember from a couple years ago or whatever. Didn't she say something? Did she do a lot of research on this? Or what was that about Scientology that reminds me of Antifa and Black Lives Matter? That's what I've been doing. So here's a little bit of it.
I'm Andrew Becker. It's my great pleasure to introduce tonight's guest. Annie Jacobson is an investigative journalist and author who writes about war, weapons, U.S. national security, and government secrecy. From 2009 to 2013, she served as a contributing editor for the Los Angeles Times Magazine. She's the author of the New York Times bestseller Operation Paperclip, Area 51, and most recently, The Pentagon's Brain, an uncensored history of DARPA, America's top secret military research agency. Please join me in welcoming Annie Jacobson for a conversation about the past, present, and future of DARPA, the Defense Department's secretive military research agency. Thank you for joining us, Annie.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to begin by discussing the mission of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA. DARPA is credited with creating the internet, GPS, aspects of virtual reality, not to mention a mind-boggling number of acronyms. It is an agency that makes science fiction come to life, or as you describe it, the agency that makes the future happen. For much of its history, this was done in secret, but more and more that is happening now in the open. Talk to us a little bit about in what ways how and by whom our destiny and the destiny of future generations is being decided now?
Well, first things first, I mean, as an introduction to DARPA, consider this. It's the most powerful, most productive military science agency in the world. And it's also one of the least reported on. So it puts you in a position of saying, well, what has been going on at DARPA, and what does that mean for the future? And another thing I think that's important to consider as you look at DARPA, they have a press office. Sometimes I call it the DARPA advertising agency. They put certain ideas out there about what DARPA is doing, and they're usually kind of gung-ho ideas. DARPA does many great things. It, of course, created the internet, originally called the ARPANET. Because of DARPA, we have GPS technology, sensor technology. But DARPA's mandate, as was instructed to Congress when DARPA was created in 1958, is to create vast weapon systems of the future. That's the quote. And when I found that quote, I thought, I must always keep that in mind when I'm researching and reporting on DARPA, because that is its job. So everything is about military technology. Everything that it works on is how does this support national security? And that is, of course, a double-edged sword, because that which keeps you safe can also harm you.
So with that in mind, let's start at the origins of DARPA. There's really two watershed moments that give rise to DARPA. One is the detonation of the 15 megaton H-bomb, as well as the Sputnik launch, and really the off-the-mark estimation by the U.S. of Soviet aggression and capabilities. Talk to us a little bit more about how DARPA was created and what its original mission was.
Well, I begin the book with this extraordinary explosion, 15 megaton. It was called Castle Bravo bomb. I interviewed two scientists who worked on that bomb, who were there, that were witness to that test. And I think from hearing their eyewitness testimony about this explosion, you get the real sense right away of like, these are big weapons. And DARPA was created to defend against the weapon which we had created, American scientists. So it begins with this idea of the military-industrial complex existing and having a built-in obsolescence, that the weapon we created will pretty soon be obsolete and a new weapon system will have to be created. But the real moment that DARPA began was several years later when the Soviets launched Sputnik. And so Sputnik was just a little 23-inch sphere. And we might say, looking back at history, well, what's so threatening about that? But the Soviets had beaten us into space. And not only that, Sputnik was lofted by an ICBM, and the idea was, well, if the Soviets can get Sputnik into space, they can also get a nuclear warhead into space and down onto Washington, D.C. real soon. And so DARPA was created literally in a matter of weeks after the launch of Sputnik to make sure that we, America, were never again taken by technological surprise. And what's interesting, in all these decades since, DARPA has done its job, in essence, because we've never been taken by technological surprise. DARPA has also done its job to create this very powerful, almost omnipotent military-industrial complex that is forever creating new weapon systems once the weapon systems become public and the enemy creates that same weapon system.
And so, I mean, that's really a part of an irony of the creation of DARPA and the Eisenhower administration when it was created. And coming out of that administration, his warning to the American public about being concerned about the rise of and the eventual omnipotence of that military-industrial complex. And so just to take us to today really quick, in terms of DARPA and its influence and its mission, but really ultimately, who is making these decisions about our future and our destiny? I mean, in terms of that military-industrial complex.
Well, that was a very interesting part of researching the book, to learn that one of the, DARPA is very quickly into the game, realized that there were these major national security problems that needed solving. And so they looked to what DARPA called the supermen of science. And these were the Jason scientists. And anyone here, this doesn't look like much of a conspiracy theory crowd, but anyone who follows conspiracy theories probably knows that the Jason scientists are often considered right up there with the Illuminati in terms of, people see them as these wizards behind the curtain doing all these kind of bad things. When in fact, I interviewed the co-founder of the Jason scientists, a physicist named Marvin Goldberger. And he created the Jasons with a couple fellow physicist colleagues in 1960 and advised the Pentagon for decades. And what I found was that the Jason scientists were remarkably level-headed and detached in their assessments. They wrote a number of reports, many of which Goldberger shared with me, declassified reports. Many still are classified. But what was interesting is to get the perspective of Goldberger that went like this, which is that the Jason scientists were all physicists who were academics, so they taught most of the time at America's great universities. And then in the summer...
I'm just going to add this. Remember that these people will use as scapegoats. Like Nancy Pelosi said, scapegoats. So if you had a program to where you had a team of people and they had invented something or developed some kind of software or AI, and they warrant, well, this could be used for nefarious reasons, could be used for good or whatever, and then it gets in the hands of DARPA, and something happens, bad happens, say drone misfires or whatever. Do you think those people take responsibility for it, or do you think they throw someone under the bus and blame them? So I just want y'all to keep that, if you can, just keep that in your mind of everything that we've learned over the last 3.5 years of what they're capable of doing.
Summer, they would gather for what they called summer studies, and they would address these great problems of national defense. And you see over the decades the Jasons advising the DARPA this way, and I write about their role in all the different wars, the Cold War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War. But when you come full circle to where we are now, I learned a very important thing. And it has to do with the fact that the Pentagon is really moving toward autonomous weapons. And people surprisingly aren't really familiar with this. I mean, there's a lot of talk about, wow, what if? When in fact, this is dogma at the Pentagon. And you can read about it in their unclassified reports that talk about DARPA's plans and the Pentagon's plans for drones and autonomous warfare, also called hunter-killer drones, through 2038. And when I was having a discussion with one of the program managers at DARPA about some of these hunter-killer drones, the science of which is being pursued in these very sort of spooky areas that involve brain implants and mapping the brain and charting, neurological behavior in brain-wounded warriors. And I was saying, well, I read a report where the Jason scientists do not think this is a good idea. In fact, they specifically advise the Pentagon against moving in this direction. And the program manager, Michael Goldblatt, said to me, well, Jason's hardly relevant anymore. And I said, what do you mean? This is news to me. And he said, well, it's kind of news at the Pentagon, and it just started happening during the War on Terror, where the Jason scientists are being moved out. And in their place of power has come a group called the Defense Science Board, who has been at the Pentagon for a while, but their position in terms of advising the Pentagon and advising how DARPA will move forward has changed. And here's...
I'm just going to, again, she's probably about to hit it. I don't know. I've not seen this one first. I really wanted to watch it with you guys because I won't lie to you. Watching something 5 times then shared it gets a little... But just remember the article that was read right before this one about all these people's ties. So if Jason is not advising the Pentagon anymore, then who the hell is? Who is? If it's not the scientists, the inventors, the developers, the physicists, who the hell is?
The rub that concerned me is that the Defense Science Board is made up of individuals who are full-time defense contractors. They are not part-time defense contractors and full-time.
I promise you on my little dog Alfie, I have not seen this first. I did not know she was going to say that, but there you go. Promise.
academics. They sit on the boards of these major, whether it's Boeing, Lockheed, General Dynamics, etc. And they are the ones who are now really advising DARPA how the government should move toward autonomous warfare, which brings up a very important question. And it brings up what you asked about, which was Eisenhower's concept of the military-industrial complex. So if those who are advising the Pentagon how to proceed and which vast weapon systems of the future to create are the very individuals who are responsible for creating and selling those vast weapon systems of the future, then you have that closed loop that Eisenhower warned against.
Because over the history of DARPA and with the involvement of the Jason scientists, there has been time and again where they have given warning, saying this is not an appropriate use of, say, this technology, whether that was utilizing nuclear warfare on the Ho Chi Minh Trail during Vietnam and perhaps other examples. And with that, it's almost a conscience, and it seems as if there has been this tension, or there is still some tension within the Pentagon, but beyond that, there is the greater need for an informed citizenry. Can you describe a little bit of that tension? Is that tension,
yes,
is it getting greater, or are we seeing the scales tip in one way or the other?
Well, the tension is really arising from this idea that what the Pentagon believes the best way forward in warfare is, and again, these are unclassified documents. I write about them in the book. I mean, they're available to be read. Some of them are quite long. But it talks about how the Pentagon is moving toward robotic warfare. These are weapons that people know as hunter-killer drones. So whereas now you have a drone that's under remote control, there's an operator somewhere, whether it's Creech Air Force Base or in Washington, D.C., deploying, flying this drone over the war theater, there is a movement that will go toward drones that are self-governing, and that you can essentially, let's say, and this is a bad version, but you show the drone a photograph and say, go assassinate this guy and report back to me. That's an autonomous drone. The intelligence, the capabilities are not there yet, but the Pentagon is very insistent on the pursuit of these technologies. And so you ask about the pushback. Well, I was surprised to learn that much of the pushback is actually coming from inside the Pentagon. So the Pentagon, gave out sort of questionnaires to many people, from the commanding officers to the drone operators, asking what the general feel was about this movement toward autonomous drones. And the general consensus was not a good idea. So instead of taking that into consideration and maybe shifting policy, then Undersecretary of Defense Ashton Carter, who's now the Secretary of Defense, sent out this memo which said, let's create a program where we work on robotics and ethics. And so then that was disseminated among the commanding generals, the drone operators, and everybody in between, to sort of learn that robots could have ethics.
I'm just going to let you know, this interview was 6 years ago.
And the idea came back, well, no, not at all, because robots don't have morals. And then this is where it got really tricky. So that trail kind of stops, and I was unable to find out what happened next, what the next movement was from the Pentagon. But separately, I noticed that right around this
time, I'll tell you something that I've strung together. You know who else was screaming aloud about AI and how dangerous it was, and that its development and not having any regulations on it? And you can think what you want to about him, but he had a lot of money to lose in saying it. Elon Musk has been since 2014 saying that there need to be regulations put on AI because AI does not have compassion. He says, think about it like you're a human being walking down the street and you see an ant running across the sidewalk. If you step on an ant, you don't give it a second thought. Now, put yourself in an ant's position.
Time DARPA started a new program, and it has to do with trust. And it's called Narrative Networks. It's one of those really innocuous names, the N2 program. And on face value, it's like DARPA's working with storytellers and anthropologists to try to figure out how people, are influenced by narratives. But another element of the Narrative Networks
Did you hear what she just said? Working to see how you are influenced by narratives. DARPA.
Program works very specifically, and I interviewed the scientist on this program, deals with a chemical in the brain called oxytocin. And that is sometimes called the brain's moral molecule. And it is this idea that this is what humans use as a trust mechanism in their brain. So if you trust someone, you emit oxytocin. A breastfeeding mother, for example, this is in DARPA documentation, emits oxytocin. And so DARPA is now having this program looking into the use of oxytocin and how you can manipulate trust. And again, this is speculation, but one can't help but wonder, okay, the guys at the Pentagon don't like the idea toward movement toward autonomous drones. They don't trust drones that have self-government, and let's have a program that manipulates trust. And that's where we get into some of those ideas about, well, what is DARPA really doing? What are their goals, and how are they achieving them?
I mean, it's interesting to see, again, from the evolution of DARPA and its original focus, looking at deterring or at least being able to defeat a nuclear attack, and something that is on a global and a large scale. And over the years, how that has come down, it's really kind of been filtered down and focused down more and more, almost on the individual. And the idea of weapon systems going all the way down into a single warfighter. And how do you augment cognition? How do you make that person who is injured in warfare continue to fight? How do you deal with fatigue? It's beyond just the larger weapon system. It takes us into the evolution, in some ways, of humans.
DARPA calls it transhumanism, military transhumanism. But in an interesting way, this is actually part and parcel of the whole movement towards robotics. It's not only making individual warfighters comfortable with robots, it's this idea of coupling man and machine and merging humans and machine. And DARPA is doing that with programs now with what they call biohybrids, which people might call cyborgs. They're able to actually control a rat through a labyrinth remotely because they've implanted electrodes in its brain. They can do the same with a moth. DARPA in 2014 created a steerable moth by inserting electrodes in the pupa stage of the moth, which then transformed. The wings came out, and this part of the machinery is now part of the animal system. DARPA is able to steer a moth. And when you ask about transhumanism, and as I write in the book, it all began in this very interesting moment decades ago. This is actually not new. It was when the Berlin Wall came down. Many Soviet bioweapons engineers defected to the United States, and DARPA hired them. A quote from a DARPA director at the time was, "We had no biologists in the Pentagon." They were busy having those people like the Jason scientists, supermen of scientists, men dealing with machines, engineers, physicists looking at these big space systems. But suddenly the idea that biology is important became what was called a thrust at DARPA. And there began this movement to look inside the body, to work with what they call the dismounted soldier, the guy that's walking on the ground. And this led to a whole new umbrella of programs, which is called augmented cognition, which is called, in short, the super soldier program. And it's how to make warfighters smarter than other warfighters, stronger than other warfighters. And again, these, are double-edged swords. Many people who are proponents...
You left us something out there, and she may add it here in a second, but it also makes soldiers that don't have any morals or have any issues, enforcing, say, martial law or something on its own people. You know what I mean? Like if a government were you to use the military on its own people, what kind of military would you need? You need a military that has no conscience.
Of transhumanism say, why not control evolution? The cochlear implant, the pacemaker being great examples of, benefiting man by augmenting the physical body. People who are very against transhumanism say, there's something really wrong with this. I think the reason that I like writing narrative stories, as I do in my book, is that I tell it from the perspective of the people involved, and maybe you get to decide what you think of transhumanism.
So there are other elements that DARPA has very much been on the forefront of. And so it is getting down to, in some cases, how are we changing or how can we change humans? But then it's also mapping humans, and whether that is with the global war on terror and the evolution of kind of the scientists involved and more of a social science approach to fighting terrorism, to also literally humans becoming data points. And some of the programs born out of DARPA's own visions. Can you talk a little bit about that? And one of the programs, Total Information Awareness, and how that's evolved to what has become a lot of news in recent years.
So here we're in the realm of what DARPA, the Pentagon, calls ISR. It's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And it's an idea that actually goes back to the Vietnam War, when DARPA had its first shift, going from these big sort of anti-ballistic missile defense programs to suddenly being sent into the jungles of Vietnam and being asked to create different weapon systems to fight the insurgents, particularly on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And this idea sprang forth of sensor technology. And at the time, it was so rudimentary. It was like guys, and I interview these guys in the book, that are flying in low and slow over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, incredibly dangerous. In one situation, these guys are shot down, and they're rescued in this very dramatic way. Because what they were doing is they're dropping out of the aircraft and helicopters these giant sensors that are like this big. They're kind of shaped like a dart, and they're supposed to literally fly out of the aircraft, land on the ground in a string, and then the electronic information gets relayed up to a helicopter that's flying in a racetrack formation overhead. And then that information gets relayed back to what was called an information center in Thailand, where soldiers are using these new technologies, this is back in 1965, 66, called computers, to try and create algorithms to figure out
1960 to 1965.
What these Ho Chi Minh fighters are doing on the trail, where they're headed, what they're going to attack next. I mean, this technology was laughed at the Pentagon, by the way. But of course, this is now exactly what we know as surveillance, as the big surveillance network that you referred to. And we saw this program again in the war on terror, when DARPA ran into a lot of trouble publicly when it created a system called the Total Information Awareness program. And that was this idea to use sensor technology to monitor American citizens, to look at their credit card transactions, to look at the library books they take out, to monitor who they're talking to try and create, with computers which are now very sophisticated, and algorithms which have gotten much more sophisticated with help from NSA, et cetera, to then use this system of systems to find not the Ho Chi Minh fighter on the trail, but rather the terrorist among us. And so you can see how one technology decades later becomes this other incredible DARPA technology. And that is very much what we have now in the surveillance systems that are going on.
So over the course of DARPA's history, there has been, with some of its inventions, with some of its programs, there has been pushback. One was this total information awareness that eventually got splintered off into the NSA and PRISM and a variety of other programs. Can you recount some of the other experiences or the other incidents in the past that DARPA has really had to, has had to either sweep under the carpet or in some ways fix its public image?
Its image, yes. I mean, after the Vietnam War, an interesting thing happened. There's this perception that there was it wasn't a perception, it was a reality that there was a downsizing of the military per se, which there was. DARPA got in big trouble for doing what was called pre-requirement research, for creating weapon systems that were ahead of the time when in fact we needed to be fighting this war in Vietnam that we lost. And so DARPA was punished. It got kicked out of the Pentagon, that sort of coveted place to be, and sent several miles away, where it is now in Arlington, Virginia. They had a couple moves. But so DARPA kind of got its wrist slapped. And there was a moment with many of the people who were there at the time talking about how, they thought maybe the agency would be folded. But that's not what happened. In fact, the opposite happened, which is that suddenly DARPA got an influx of money thanks to the Secretary of Defense, Harold Brown, who was the first scientist in the Pentagon to be Secretary of Defense. Brown had been in charge of all the DARPA technology during the Vietnam War, specifically the sensor technology. And Brown created an entire industry behind this idea of information technology, behind the idea of nanotechnology, which is the art of making things small, that all of these sensor systems could be shrunken down. And so even though the public perception was that DARPA was in trouble, DARPA had created Agent Orange during the war. So there was a real idea of banishment, and yet, in fact, the agency flourished. And it didn't really become evident until the Gulf War, when we had a Secretary of Defense, then Dick Cheney, who was a real proponent of using technology to win. And the Gulf War was that incredible show of power, network-centric warfare that displayed what DARPA was capable of and what you could do to an enemy force if you had technological superiority. But that only worked in that very specific environment. And it certainly didn't work the next war on the horizon, the war on terror, which dealt with urban warfare.
So with these directions that DARPA has taken, and some of there's been trajectories over decades. Again, going back to another example out of the Vietnam War was the idea of trying to apply behavioral science or some social science to understand, or seemingly to try to understand the Viet Cong and what was motivating, what was driving them. But in some cases, it's taken the Pentagon years to appreciate what DARPA has concluded or what they suggested. What happened in that case with the Viet Cong?
Well, I was really surprised, like you're referring to learn that there were anthropologists hired by DARPA in the war, and that came, and again, there's a parallel here with the Iraq War, so I think it's very interesting to consider, because the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, at the time, was stuck on this question. He actually had the equivalent, the 1960s version of a Post-it note in his office that said, "What made the Vietnam tick?" He wanted to know why these Viet Cong fighters were siding with the communists and not siding with the Americans. And so DARPA set about this sprawling program where it hired anthropologists and social scientists to go into the field, to conduct interviews, to try and find out what made the Viet Cong tick. And I write at length, and I interviewed the lead on that, a man named Joseph Zasloff. And part of why he felt what he told me was so important, because this was a colossal failure. I mean, the Hearts and Minds campaign failed. And Zasloff said that he felt that, when he saw this same thing going on in the Iraq War, because, again, DARPA got this idea, almost like it had amnesia, that DARPA had done this during the Vietnam War, got this brilliant idea during the war on terror. Hey, let's start a Hearts and Minds campaign and figure out what makes the Iraqis tick. And it was the same story over again, and that same failure. So the idea is DARPA's investing all this time and treasure, and one would hope that one would at least get experience and be able to say, well, this doesn't work, how do we need to adjust? And instead, it's astonishing to see that same, instead of experience, you get amnesia. And it was no louder spoken to me when I read the Army issued a statement when it kicked this program into effect in Iraq. It was called the Human Terrain Program. And on their website, the Army wrote, "This is the first time in history that anthropologists and social scientists are being sent into the war theater on a large scale." But no, it wasn't.
Well, hello, Sonny. Find that interesting?
Hello.
I don't know how much you caught of the show, but I got breaking to read something before I played this. I just got two of her books. This Annie Jacobson's books, and she's done a lot of heavy research into DARPA, the CIA, like Area 51 stuff, and
Oh,
she
wow.
yeah. So I just find it interesting. I think I've been trying to highlight. I spent today because in the background, I research so many different things. I don't just have my head in the geopolitical stuff. Obviously, my interest is in the symbology, stuff like that. But then that leads me down the paths where, I find myself in Britney Spears conservatorships, with ironically Breaking brought up today, which is funny, which is cool. And, other stuff. But as I stressed to people listening, I was like, just remember that if there's so many, we have to rely still to this day on the news, right? We have to rely on these articles that we read.
Right.
And so we're trying to do our best to tell people the truth. And, what concerns me is whenever you have outlets like CNN or MSNBC, agreeing with Fox News and, and all that other shit, that's concerning. So I had to read an article that showed all these pundits, these contributors to these media outlets, all have their hand in these military contracts. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, and like hip to the clip, Neuralink, I think is correct spelling. Yeah, if you think Neuralink, though, because TMC's brought this up before when I had a couple of the think tank with. If you think about it, Elon Musk, was touting out Neuralink for the last, couple years. But as you heard, DARPA was looking into like the same thing, like nanotechnology and linking things to your brain, where they were doing it to those rats and moths. They've been doing it for decades. So it behooves us, if you hear DARPA or one of those government programs talking about them wanting to develop something, no, they probably already had it for 25 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wonder, like Elon Musk and that kind of thing. Are they just, I think they're maybe all globalist, but they're maybe all different, like kind of factions or something of it, parts of it.
The only thing that one guy I look at somebody's actions and what they say in his business. So his business is smart cars, basically, he's into SpaceX. You can imagine his need for AI, right, in order to have things that can autopilot itself, things like that of that nature. But I'll never forget, I believe it was 2014, and he did an interview with all people of Joe Rogan, and he asked him about AI. And he said in that interview, he said, it's dangerous. He said, we need to pump the brakes on this. He says, it's not regulated. It needs to be regulated. And he just kept pushing it. He was like, I've tried to tell them. He said, but nobody wants to listen to me. He was like, and then I said this right before you got here. He said, imagine that, if you're walking down the street and you see ants running across the sidewalk, you think nothing when you step on those ants. He said, now put yourself in the ant position. Because that's how these non-sentient beings, with this artificial intelligence could grow into. They're going to look at you as the weaker species. You're the thing to put in the zoo. And
my goodness.
That always stuck with me. So he came back a couple of years ago to do another interview with Joe Rogan, and this is when he was starting to push out Neuralink. And so Joe Rogan asked him, I can dig this up for you guys if you're interested in seeing it. I have so much stuff. Y'all need to just tell me what y'all want to see, because I do have a lot of stuff. And again, I will tell you, I'm not a reinventor of the wheel. That's already been invented. So if I find someone that's done a good job of covering a topic, I will share that person's work. I will give them the credit where credit is due. You notice I do have two of those women's books. I do try to support these people. But he came back on in 2018 and he started talking about Neuralink. And so Joe Rogan was like, oh, so I guess you've changed your mind about AI. And he was like, no. He said, but I figured, he said, nobody would listen to me. I tried for years to get people to listen to me. He said, so I figured I'd try to do the next best things, at least make humans competitive, which is, Neuralink. And so, again, you have to imagine, I look at where people's money lies, where their share in stocks are, what their business is about. And for him to come out and say that the the brakes need to be pumped on AI when his business relies heavily on it. He is he, he's willing to lose money in order to make those statements, and most of these people aren't willing to do that. Now, you can take that for what you want. I'm not saying he's a great person. Listen, he sent his kids to these mystery schools like the Bill Gates of the world did. If you know anything about symbology, the mystery schools and all that, magic, alchemy. But when he did say that one thing, I gave him mad respect because he, was shooting his own business in the foot by saying it. So, and look what DARPA is focusing on. But again, DARPA's been focusing on this stuff since the 60s. What do you think they actually have that we don't know about? Do you think that when DARPA released something in the news that we haven't had, it's become obsolete? It's like, yeah, let's let the enemy know that we've had this. Shit, that thing, we've already got, version 5, developed at this point.
Right.
DARPA's not going to tell you what they have that's, top secret or some kind of military weaponry they don't want the enemy to know about. You really think they're going to write about it in a newspaper article if they don't want China to know?
Right.
That makes sense. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day here today, mild and a nice breeze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. We got a little bit of rain. A hurricane, rain. But other than that, it's been pretty chill. Today's real pretty.
And you're away from those floods, right? You said you were away from the floods?
Yeah, I'm not near like a river. So there's low-lying areas, of course, where anybody lives.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm not. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, except for the few years I went to, like, say, Michigan or Mississippi or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it like do the, how what houses are underwater, up past the door. I've never seen anything like that.
There was a tornado in Maryland today, and there was also a dam in Pennsylvania that was either getting ready to bust. They're trying to evacuate a town. I just caught a couple of those news stories earlier.
Well, I will be interesting in seeing what you have to say. You always brighten my day. I do not. I say that every time, I know, but I feel like I need to reiterate that because, again, I went come on. What was it, Monday with Casey, and did some of the inside stories of the Illuminati, and so I've been kind of getting into that. So it's nice to give your mind a break from that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It gets dark. These people are sick. Like the famous Anon said, these people are sick. And I'm happy. I will definitely check it out. It's hard for me to do stuff while I'm on the air. I like to try to read stuff beforehand. But I saw your message about you sent me something. I will look in the email because I haven't got anything from you guys yet. But with that, Casey, see, I almost called you Clarabelle because I'm so used to doing that. But I try to stay with Stunny. But I'll get out of your way and make everybody smile.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Good rest of your evening, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. All right. So hi, chat. Hi, live chat. How are you? I hope you are all well. And we'll go ahead and just do that, kind of falling into this clip thing. So let's keep doing this. Kind of just lightens the mood for me too. So I play clips, just see them on the internet. They may be interesting, or I may wonder about them or ponder about them. I don't always agree with them or everything they say. But here we go. And this is the impersonator, the Trump impersonator.
The greatest tropical update, quite frankly, in the history of meteorology when you think about it. And when you talk about tropical storm, they call it Henri. I call it Tropical Storm Henry. I call him Hank when you think about it. I call him Hank. When you look at the storm, you see the shear along the outside. The core is intensifying, but overall, the storm is a disorganized mess. Very similar to the Biden administration, the people running our country, the Afghanistan withdrawal, the southern border. It's one big disorganized mess. And when you look at the cone, you see the cone. And it goes all the way up into big, beautiful Long Island, New York, the greatest people the world has ever seen. Long Island, The longest island in the history of the country, when you think about it. It's going up there, and just because the storm is weak, much like Sleepy Joe, doesn't mean it can't cause a lot of damage, so we hope everybody stays safe and stays well, believe me.
That is Sean Farash, and he goes by Captain Deplorable. And yep, I mix it with, there's political stuff, there's just funny stuff, there's a news story, some history, and pet stuff. I'm going to rewind that again. He knows how to work the system to get his treat. So cute. Oh my gosh. And this is a more serious story. This Jilly O put out, since some folks think I'm making it up that an adoption agency would deny a couple the ability to adopt a child due to their CV-19 vax status, this is the wife of one of the founders of Warrior Poet Society.
What's going on?
So what I wanted to share is how livid I am, absolutely furious and a rage, goosebumps all over my body. We just got the news that in the future we would be denied working with an adoption agency that is for potential parents only who have been vaccinated against COVID. So we are not vaccinated, nor do we plan to be in the future. And now we're denied working with this agency because we don't have the jab.
How long have we been trying to adopt?
Over 18 months. We've officially been waiting for a match, but we started the paperwork back in 2019.
And when does our paperwork expire?
In 4 months.
In this agency that says we can't have to have a vaccination, how much?
Now, all those cases are gone.
Yep.
We are disqualified from those. So let me just remind you, you can legally and with public approval kill your baby in the womb. You can murder it, but I can't adopt one if I don't have a jab for COVID.
Sounds about right.
The world has gone nuts. Wish more people could see what's going on for reals. All right. This is Pluff for Science on Twit. There's 43 muscles in the face, mainly devoted to expression. That astounding big number is correlated with an extraordinary eye-brain capacity to judge their millimetric subtle movement. Result worth such an effort. It allows a glance instant understand of others' attitude. And I think what they're talking about is, today I crossed with many people in their masks and due to sterilizing Spain's summer sunglasses. It was like a nightmare of human absence, just that strange and inscrutable creatures. Social distancing is accepted without considering what it does to social relationships. Other turned into non-feeling monsters, probably dangerous that we've to care being distanced away. Doesn't seem like anything humans have done, except maybe in the cruelty of war or in Auschwitz. With some 0.005% really infected, does it look like a proportional cost? Not to me. So that's just one person's expression of that. And then he was showing this disturbing mask that goes like over the whole face. So yeah, just crazy stuff. All righty, so we'll get off that serious subject and go on to this.
What the hell? What the hell? What the hell?
Stop.
What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? What the hell?
Gotta admit, I don't you want to run around saying what the hell?
No, I don't have that attitude.
Do you have an attitude?
No, I don't.
I believe you do.
I think you do.
You believe I do?
Yeah,
I don't think so, little girl.
I don't mean I'm not the I'll fish and go home.
Because you have an attitude?
No.
That is so cute. Oh my goodness. Just her serious expressions too. She had such a expressionable face. If that's a word, expressionable. I maybe just made that up. Baby, the baby is flying. Oh, let's see. My mouse is kind of sticking today. Ah.
Look at Emerson.
Emerson! Oh my gosh, so cute! Oh my word!
Set up. Emerson's floating away. Sometimes I grab things that I just find interesting and hits the spot. This was one of them. Thor the Deplorable. Imagine the outcry if people had to prove that they didn't have HIV in order to travel or receive services. Do you remember that? Remember the AIDS stuff and HIV and how, the media and the outpouring on it? And I think he has a point. It's interesting how things change. Oh boy, I lost my bookmarks. All right. Oh, you might want to close your eyes for a second, or I might make you dizzy. Sorry about that. Don't know why I jumped. Trying to make it painless. Sorry. Pooh. All right. I guess I have a lot of bookmarks because it's taken a while to get down there. Getting closer. I'm so sorry. All right. Hopefully it's worth your while. Oh my goodness. Hope I don't do that again. All right. I'm almost there. Okay, there. All right. So we were about here. So someone did this clip. Trust me when I tell you the Titanic was not a love story, they tweeted.
Expense. They called the Titanic.
The sinking of the Titanic was the design of the Jesuit order to get rid of the opposition to the creation of a central bank in the United States.
And the men on the Titanic were opposed to a central bank. They had to die. Among those were John Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, Benjamin Guggenheim, and a host of other millionaires who were opposed to a central bank in America. Therefore, they had to be taken out of the way. And they were on the Titanic.
The company building the ship was owned by J.P. Morgan, who was himself an agent of the Rothschilds family, the Rothschilds being the bankers for the Pope and the Vatican. The main Jesuit targets were brought on board. The captain of the ship was Edward John Smith. It appears from his actions that Captain Smith was a Jesuit coadjutor, that is, a Jesuit who has taken the oath but does not wear the robes. A coadjutor blends into the scenery and never looks like a Jesuit priest. It is a veteran sea captain, Edward Smith, who orders the ship to travel through an 80-square-mile ice field at full speed on a moonless night. There had been over 8 telegrams warning the captain of the danger.
He's warned 8 times, slow the ship down, slow the Titanic down, you're going too fast. Not once stopped. Knew there was an iceberg field up ahead, knew that he should have slowed down, but didn't. And so you look and you say, how was it that this man could go headlong into a field of icebergs and not slow the ship down, not be more careful? The only conclusion you can draw is, as a coadjutor of the Jesuit order, right through the line, the chain of command, he was told, sink the ship.
And it goes right there. ends right there. I think there have been other theories about the Titanic. I don't necessarily know if this one's true, but that's up to you to decide or find out. Let's see. This was just a video that I came across. It says the Vagrancy Act didn't help me at all. I was already on the streets and then they fined me. The police kept coming over to me and asking me to move. They didn't tell me anywhere to go and get help. The court fined me $150. Afterwards, I was just sent on my way, Sean from Blackpool. They just come up and tell you to move, but I don't know where they expect you to go. People need help and housing, not being called a criminal. Pudsey from Blackpool. The whole experience of the Vagrancy Act was dehumanizing. But is it really in the public interest to convict people who have had the, the fortune of being on the streets in the first place? Sam from London. At the end of the day, if someone's begging on the street, that person needs help, not being arrested for it. It would be brilliant if the Vagrancy Act could be repealed. That would help turn public opinion back to help homeless people instead of punishing them. Carl from Liverpool. I personally never found it comfortable arresting someone for rough sleeping or begging. The real reasons for homelessness are not solved by criminalizing people. We should be criminalizing failing to support homeless people, by Chris from Guilford. Scrap the Vagrancy Act. Homelessness is not a crime. Take action now. Crisis.org.uk. Scrap the act. And I don't know anything about this. I don't know if it's a nonprofit or what. I just came across that and just, homelessness is a problem and it's very sad. So moving on, there just is a video about autumn, fall. I like fall is one of my favorite seasons. It's probably my favorite season. So there was that. And F-22, make some noise. So amazing. I love that noise. I don't know what it is about it. Just amazing. This was, the CIA tried to keep this weapon secret. Let me tell you, take it on the intelligence. Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community. They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. Up Chuck Schumer, he says, posted.
The dart, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person. So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
Have you brought with you some of those devices which would have enabled the CIA to use this poison for?
We have indeed.
For killing people?
The round thing at the top is obviously the sight. It works by electricity. There's a battery in the handle, and it fires a small dart.
And the dart itself, when it strikes the target, Does the target know that he's been hit and about to die?
A special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
As a murder instrument, that's about as efficient as you can get, isn't it?
It is a weapon, a very serious weapon.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes.
And then right now what I'm thinking about is what Soko said about, this was 1975 that they had this. What do they got now?
So that there was no way of perceiving that the target was him.
I think the first time that I seriously questioned anything that was more than I just couldn't take it anymore was when I came across this document. It was eyes only, and it was to my boss. But he only had one hand and a hook in the other hand, so I always opened all of his mail and his packages and so forth. And this one, he wasn't in the office. I opened it and I read it. It said eyes only. I wanted to read it because I wasn't supposed to, probably. And it was a report about a mission where they had blown up a bridge in Asia somewhere, and they had killed a number of women and children.
And that's where it cut off. Okay, somebody has asked for the Titanic video, so I will scroll down and drop that one. Let me grab it, and I'll drop that into YouTube chat. And I'm watching YouTube and trying to keep an eye on DLive. I don't have the others open, and I can only watch a couple chats at a time. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of interesting. This La Kun of Troy, educating children. This is the way he says.
Interlock. Second rank interlock. Third rank interlock. Fourth rank interlock. Fifth rank interlock. Advance! 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 Advance!
So someone commented that they were going to note that for adds to list of activities for a homeschool group. I thought that was kind of interesting, and what I took up from it, and I'm simple, but what I took from it is that they had to all work together. They had to try to move as one. And as long as they stuck together and tried to protect and keep the shield wall up, they were protected from the oncoming foam darts or whatever they were. Anyway, okay, so this was kind of funny. I saw this once before, but they were politicians. So there should be a law requiring doctors and scientists to wear sponsor jackets like NASCAR drivers. And so like the other one I saw was politicians. But yeah, don't we have a right to know like who supports these doctors and who's giving them all this money? That way we will know which big pharmacy vaccine companies own them. I really like that one. And then this is a beautiful song.
My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. God bless America. America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
I thought that was beautiful. And I guess it was 2 songs, not just one. So this is Kirky86 and Reckoning retweeted it. This doctor trained at the Mayo Clinic runs the largest independent testing laboratory in Idaho. Listen to what his lab testing is showing.
But what we're seeing in we're seeing a very concerning locked-in low profile of these important killer T cells that you want in your body. It's almost a reverse HIV. In HIV, you lose your helper T cells, your CD4 cells. In this virus post-vaccine, what we're seeing is a drop in your killer T cells, your CD8 cells. And what do CD8 cells do? They keep all other viruses in check. What am I seeing in the laboratory? I'm seeing an uptick of herpes family viruses. I'm seeing herpes, I'm seeing shingles, I'm seeing mono, I'm seeing a huge uptick in human papillomavirus in the cervical biopsies and the cervical pap smears in women. In addition to that, there's a little infectious bump that kids get called molluscum contagiosum. What do you need to keep that in check? You need CD8 killer T cells. I am seeing a 20 times increase in individuals over the age of 50 of this little bump and rash. That's innocuous, but what it tells me is the immune status of these individuals who have gotten the shot. We're literally weakening the immune system of these individuals. Now, most concerning of all is there's a pattern of these types of immune cells in the body that keep cancer in check. Well, since January 1, in the laboratory, I've seen a 20 times increase of endometrial cancers over what I see on an annual basis. A 20 times increase. I'm not exaggerating at all. Because I look at my numbers year over year. I'm like, gosh, I've never seen this many endometrial cancers before. I'm seeing invasive melanomas in younger patients. Normally we catch those early and they're thin melanomas. I'm seeing thick melanomas skyrocketing in the last month or two. I'm already seeing the early signals. And we are modifying the immune system to a weakened state. Great study out of Germany that looked at these profiles on young individuals after the Pfizer, showing this locked in, and we don't know how long. Maybe the immune system, is going to regenerate and those ratios will go back up. But who's studying it? And where are the long-term trials? 2 months, 4 months? How long is this profile locked in? We don't know. But what we're seeing in the
So definitely concerning, but I hadn't heard this take on the shots. So this is really short, but I thought it was funny. Gov pulling out all in sentence to get me to that shot. Me. The look on that little kid's face, like this isn't working, Grandma. Oh man, that was cute. All right. This was a little bit of a story. There's this gal I follow. She's Tammy, follower of Jesus Christ. That's what she calls herself. So my father believed adult children should make their own way without money from parents. So when he bought me this fridge as a housewarming gift in 1994, it was a significant gift from him and evidence to me of his great love. In 2003, my ex, with great malice, kept this in our divorce and refused to let me have it, knowing what it meant to me. fast forward 18 years, and this man is now a Christian. And I not only have my fridge back, I have the entire house that surrounds it for as long as I need a home. Don't ever think God can't change hearts. Save who you view as unsavable and return to you what the locusts have eaten. My father's fridge is still running and I'm using it. And he who took it from me is now my brother in Christ. God can do anything. I'm continually amazed. So I thought that was, and you know, that saying that they don't make them like they used to, it appears that way. You know, people used to have their appliances for so long, it seems like, and now it seems like they last a few years. Let's see. So this was interesting, and I haven't looked it up, but I do believe there's something to this. Did you know the FDA doesn't do any of the testing for drug approval? NIH does and provides its finding for FDA approval. Look up Christine Grady. She's the head of NIH bioethics. Who is her spouse? I'll wait while you Google it. Well, her spouse is this guy, Fraudchi. So that's interesting. Unseen tweeted this out. Is the liberal use of sunscreen and the large amount of vitamin D deficiency in this country linked? Have the experts created another problem by trying to deal with skin cancer? Is the liberal use of sunscreen also increasing skin cancer occurrence? Real science would be nice at the moment. Yep, real science would be nice at the moment. This is Nicole Arbor. She's a comedian, entrepreneur, motivator, digital renegade, over 1 billion video views, and thankful. I do see a flag there. The uncanceling.
How celebrities to be real. It doesn't matter if they mean it. This is Hollywood. It's show business. Stop being an idiot. Wait, somebody's beeping in. Lefty Lucy. It's the right. The right? What the hell do you want? I'm calling for a deal trade thing. Uncancel for uncancel? That's genius. I'm gonna take credit for that. Bet you will. Frankly, we want J.K. Rowling back. She's a big player and she hates Trump. Harry Potter's great films. Who doesn't love magic, right? And let's be honest, women don't have dicks. I agree. Women with dicks probably aren't women. Yeah, we can make that happen. We've got a jumping off point. Kimmel for Roseanne? Are you nuts? People loved canceling her. How was she supposed to know a white-skinned woman was black? He did blackface and said the N-word a bunch of times. Blackface plus the N-word. Yeah, you're right. You want the parents ate all the Halloween candy sketch or not? Ah, the sketch with the Halloween candy's good. This is the same network. Deal. Kevin Hart for Louis C.K. Oh, gay jokes are hard to trade for masturbation. That's Me Too versus the gays. The guy came in a plant. And? I guess we've all come in something we regret. True. You're almost being too friendly. I feel like there's a big one coming. Milo and InfoWars for Cosby. Yeah, nobody wants Cosby. What about fake hate crime crew? Smollett and Wallace? Let's talk about Paula Deen. I want Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben back. All right, give me Don Cherry and Jesus in Schools. I really want Eskimo pies back, and I really don't think anybody complained about that. And I want white men not to be treated like villains. Do Eskimos even have Wi-Fi? No. Throw in Kramer and you've got a deal. See how easy this is? Great, write it up, and I will have black people on Twitter send that out. All right, I'll let the memers know. You're welcome. You asshole. How celebrities to be really offended about whatever's going on, and they'll
Stop. All right. Moving on from that. So I found this interesting.
We have in public education as we should have, because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
To me, that was creepy. And I guess part of it is because there was this video that I saw at about the same time I saw this one, and I wish I would have captured it. I looked and looked for it, but I couldn't find it. It was this board member at a school meeting saying that, you know, parents aren't always right. And that, so she was, you know, speaking out against mandates, and I think she was for them and she was for masks. And she was basically saying that your kids are not yours. And so we need to step in and we need to take care of your kids and we need to decide what's right for them because we're the board members. And it was just like, oh my gosh, it was so cringe. I wish I could have grabbed that video, but I didn't. Anyways, I think that was cringe that she's saying, remember your kids aren't yours. Okay. So this has got Tom McDonald's song in the background.
To consume, step 2, infiltrate adults with the news, step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use, step 4, separate the right from the left, step 5, separate the white from the black, step 6, separate the rich from the poor, use religion and equality to separate them more, step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie, step 8, put it on the news every night, step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control, this is called situational design.
Sure feels like that's what's happening. Let's see. This seems like a good one to end the night with. I second everything she just said. This MK tweeted this out.
Oh, fuck. You're the unlucky ham that's gonna get it, okay? I am not a nurse. I'm one of those ding-dongs who went to college for media and mass communications thinking that I was gonna work in that fucking field and ended up in the healthcare field. Okay, but I'm actually a bed changer because that's what everyone seems to think I am. So we're going to roll with that, even though it doesn't matter what you do as long as you do it with dignity and pride. Okay, if I was a person who changed fucking beds or I was a janitor, I would do it with pride. Okay, if you're not allowed to question medicine and science, it's not medicine or science. If you cannot ask questions and have your questions answered, you are being lied to, deceived, dissuaded, and bullshitted. So the next cocksucker who makes this comment, get fucked too, okay? If I can't ask a question and have a question answered, I'm being lied to. Period.
I think we're being lied to. Not supposed to question. All right, and a starting point, even though it's a Wikipedia link, this.
Allow me terrifying insights into the world of the human psyche. Have you heard of the Milgram experience? Well, back in the 1960s, they wanted to test people to see how far would someone go. Would they actually violate their conscience, what they knew was right and wrong? Would they actually put somebody in harm's way, even to the point of death, if somebody in authority told them to do it? The vast, vast majority of them were willing to do it. This explains how Nazi Germany came to be. And it started somewhere, people in authority giving orders. Whether you believed it was right or wrong, didn't matter. Most people would still comply. Why? Because humans are weak, and many of us do not have an immovable moral compass. If this doesn't terrify you, it should.
It would explain some of what's going on. Some very scary stuff at times. I thought this was unique. A good time to post this. Haunting Portraits of the Lincoln Assassination Conspirators, 1865. These old pictures are so wild looking compared to pictures now. Well, his role in the conspiracy is unclear, but he was sentenced anyway. Wonder how much of history is true sometimes. I don't know. Those might not even be real pictures of those people. But I love looking at the old pictures. Let's see. Here is a little water puppy feel good for you. Well, very playful. And it's gone. All right, there was that. Let's skip that. So Tim runs his mouth. Tim Young, he's gonna he's gonna go live in a bit. Anyways, been learning how the machines work to get these sexy no hats made. I just thought it was interesting. I've always wondered about embroidering and these big machines. So it's just a real short video on that one. And then he says, I'm going to embroider the hats myself with the nice ladies at the embroidery shop tomorrow, and I'll film from there as well. All orders that haven't been shipped go out on Monday. Get yours now.
The nice ladies at the print shop are a little behind on making these hats, but we're going to get them out by Monday. And here's why. I'm going in tomorrow to actually make them myself. So that's all the people that are like, he's a grifter selling hats, blah. Eat shit, number one, eat shit. Number two, I'm actually going in to make the hats myself. So it's going to be kind of fun tomorrow. And I said, hey, can I go and film it? So I'm going to film with the nice ladies at the embroidery shop tomorrow here in town. It's going to be pretty fun. So cool. I will see you guys tomorrow live here. And then we've got a Hard Hat Intellectual. I can say that on Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern. And then we've got Libs of TikTok. We're going to be live with all of those people and all of those things. So order one of these hats. I'm going to sit around and make all of them tomorrow. So like if you need one, go get it.
Yeah, it sounded more like a commercial, but I do play his videos on here, and if it gives him some business, great. If it doesn't, I think I might skip that one for today. Alex Salvi put this out. Is this real? If so, unbelievable.
The A's had a start the game. Here are some highlights.
Pretty wild what they can do with drones. And that music's licensed, so I probably should be careful with it. I know YouTube's after Soko, but I also don't want anyone to come after the channel just because we played a song. I think usually the clips are fairly short that they maybe don't get picked up on algorithms, but I don't know for sure. So I've got about 12 minutes. Let's see, I think I'll keep going. That one's got a song with it too. Let's do this.
Hi. There's a ton of folks out here who said, I'm going to step away from my routine of life and I'm going to be here. My name is Dr. Scott Jensen. I'm running to the next governor of Minnesota. I'd like to introduce you to Anna. I just asked Anna, what's happening in your life, how things going at work, and she told me a brief story. Would you just share it?
Yeah, so I'm a nurse right now. I'm working with a local hospital, and
we have a deadline coming up that if we do not take the vaccine, we will lose our jobs. I filed religious exemption. I'm waiting to hear back on that. But depending on how things go, this will cost me my job, my mom her job, and my dad his job. So we're just staying out here, getting the word out.
Folks, 15 months ago, Anna was hailed as a hero for being willing to be in the trenches, take care of sick COVID patients. That was when we didn't know a lot of stuff. We didn't know about the ventilators. We weren't sure about remdesivir. We weren't sure about steroids. There was so much. And now she's going to lose her job because she's not willing to violate her core convictions. If you want to look someone up, look up Martin Niemöller from World War II. When he talked about, he didn't speak up because the first wave didn't affect him, the second wave didn't affect him. But when they came for him, there was nobody left for him. So please don't glibly dismiss Anna's story as, well, that's her problem. It's not her problem. It's our problem. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Next one is just a clip. I'm going to just play part of it, not all of it.
The last 30 years, you are doing the same thing that Donald Trump has been doing, and you are regurgitating what Donald Trump has put into your head. You need to stop that and start thinking for yourself.
What is with you and these commands? Like, do you think you get to tell black people what to do? Like, is that just how you operate your daily life? Instructing black people how to think, how to act, what they can and cannot say? Because I support a president, President Trump, that brought about the lowest black unemployment rate in our nation's history. Criminal justice reform, the First Step Act, millions of dollars navigated to HBCUs.
Can you imagine? I bet her head's exploding.
Economic opportunity zones, which navigated commercial investment to inner cities that were long neglected. And I understand you probably are eager to tell me to shut my mouth right now because you hate it when black conservatives even utter a single word. But I'm going to keep talking because these are facts. These are true.
I thought that was lit. Woo! Nice. And then I don't know if any of you know who Dr. Malone is, Dr. Robert W. Malone. He's been speaking out a lot lately, doing a lot of videos, been on a lot of shows. I think he's been on Bannon's War Room. I think he's been on Stu Peters. In Virginia, when I took it, there was no choice. You had to show up at the local community college administered by Army Reserves and get what they got. And for me, that was Moderna. So he did end up taking this. I believe he is an expert on the mRNA or helped create it or something. But you could look into that further. But I found that interesting. I got 9 minutes. I think I'm going to skip that one. This is labeled, I think I've seen this before a long time ago, talking to a liberal. Really?
Zapatero, ¿qué opina usted del gobierno de Zapatero? Pues igual que yo. ¿Y qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted del gobierno canario? ¿Y de los ayuntamientos de la isla? Vamos a ver, ¿qué es lo que pasa con los alcaldes? ¿Qué es lo que pasa con los alcaldes? ¿Qué es lo que sí, qué está pasando con los alcaldes? ¿Qué está pasando con el ¿Qué pasa con el presidente del gobierno? ¿Qué pasa en su
That's cute. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I'm going to skip that one and go to this one.
To be my lawfully and pancakey I've been scared of this all my life. Just give her a second.
I can so relate to that. That's funny. Message from the sheriff to all current and future employees.
Hey folks,
With the increase in private businesses and even government organizations talking about mandating the vaccine, I wanted to let you know that here at the Pinal County Sheriff's Office, we do not mandate the vaccine. And as long as I'm your sheriff, we will never mandate the vaccine. We believe that your health choices are yours and yours alone. So whether you get the vaccine or don't get the vaccine, that's your private information. Here, we believe in America and freedom, and we're going to continue on with that. God bless.
Thank God there are still sane people in this world, like this sheriff. Seems to be sane. Let's see. I don't know if you've seen those scenes from California. This is the Chaparral Fire. Nature is such a force to be reckoned with. Let's see, I'll grab that again. Fire tornado. Something I'd never want to see in real life, but to see it in a video is like, wow, holy smokes. There's a pun. All right. When you walk into a spider web at night, caught on wax, God's trumpet. Oh my God. I don't know if this is true or not. Oh my God. She's trying to straighten herself back up. I don't know if you found that funny, but I thought that was funny, and I've seen it a few times too. This is also from God's trumpet.
Was a liar. Noah, an alcoholic. Job doubted God several times. Samson was promiscuous. David was a hoe and a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Peter was embarrassed to let folk know he knew Jesus. Rahab, prostitute. The disciples often were weak, jealous of each other, and even fell asleep on Jesus the night he was arrested. The Samaritan woman couldn't even keep a husband, and Moses had anxiety. So, what's so bad that you've done that God can't use you?
I like that. So true, isn't it? The stories, well, not all the stories, but the stories in the Bible about the different people God used. So cool. This this video is cute.
That little slide and the dance at the end is so fantastic.
So cute. Oh my gosh, he's like Spider Kid. How are you, Pixels?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Awesome. I see you're still at the White Claw hard seltzer.
Oh, that's gonna be the new profile picture for years to come.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day here in Minnesota. It's kind of breezy and just real, I like mild weather. It's very mild, in the 70s, I think.
Oh, same here in Michigan. I was really surprised. I got up today, went outside, perfect 75 degrees, not even humid, just absolutely beautiful. I was like, damn, I gotta go on air today, but I kind of feel like just going fishing. Like, my goodness,
Yes.
such a perfect day.
Just going outside, soaking some sun up. Yep. Anything else happening?
Oh, for me, not a lot. Just the same old thing. Picking up news articles throughout the day. Something for me and Adel to talk about. Looks like we've actually had a few little victories out there today.
Oh, good. Victories. Good, Pixels. Because this stuff with Afghanistan is so dark and just so... Ugh.
Oh, I'll tell you what. over the past couple weeks, it's felt like blow after blow after blow. And I'm not talking about that kind of blow, Hunter. Don't get excited.
Parmesan cheese.
But no, yeah, it's been a very, very negative news filled couple of weeks, and I'm glad to see a couple little victories out there.
Oh, good.
So,
I'll take anything we can get.
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest one out there, a judge has issued an order barring Western Michigan University from mandating COVID vaccine for athletes. So.
Oh, good. And that lady got her child back, or visiting rights back. Did you see that out of Chicago?
Yeah, I've been paying attention to that story. When it first broke that judge basically said, like, you can't see your kid because you haven't had the vaccination. That was horrifying.
Oh my gosh.
But the judge went back on their order and now actually has recused themselves from the case because of all the pushback that happened. So that's another big victory out there.
Well,
it's honestly, it's horrifying to me that the government thinks they can just go ahead and take someone's child away because they haven't had an experimental drug. I mean, that is just way beyond the pale for me.
Stu Peters put a story out, Red Voice Media, about this neurosurgeon, and she's a pretty big deal from Mayo Clinic. I don't know if she's practicing in my state. I think so. I don't even recall what her name was, but I was livid. She went on Facebook and talked about how all these people that come in and don't take the vax, and then they want us to save their lives, and they could just, they're Trump supporters and they can just, die, basically something to that effect. Put it out on social media like a fool. I actually called. I mean, I don't do that. I usually don't do that kind of stuff. And they asked me my name, and I'm like, I'm not, I can give you my first name, but I said, this is absolutely repulsive. She's like, yeah, we're trying to deal with it. And I'm like, she should be reprimanded. My God, do you understand what's happening, lady? I mean, I know it's not your fault, but she's, a big deal in like surgeon, neuroscience, or whatever, neurosurgery. It's like, you have flipping lost your mind, people.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of stories lately about people being turned away from hospital care because they haven't had the vaccine or whatever. I mean, that's, you want to talk about medical discrimination. Well, what the hell is that other than medical discrimination? So I don't know. This stuff is getting so insane, and I can only hope that it serves to wake people up, in droves, because we as a society need to break away from this accepting this medical tyranny. Right.
And the thing is I thought about it later and thought, she has a right to free speech. I get that part, but it's like, you're a doctor. You treat people. You took an oath. That's discrimination against the unvaccinated. It's a discrimination like anything else. It just frustrated me. I was hot on that.
I think one of the most frustrating things that's happened, surrounding COVID in the past week or so was the so-called FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine. I mean, they essentially lied.
Did you see that two pretty big people is it the FDA left their jobs?
You know what? I did see that. Let me actually make sure. I'm going to double check.
So that's
to make
a
sure
plus,
I have that.
because there's something going on there, and I hope it gets enough attention that, more eyes on, more people awake, hopefully.
Yes, two senior FDA officials resign over disagreement with Biden White House on COVID booster shots. That headline's out of the Gateway Pundit. So yeah, I've got it.
Good,
so I'm still waiting on Adel here. I don't know if you want to go ahead and play a few more clips if you have more.
All right. Yeah, I'll grab one.
Alrighty.
Let's see. Grabbing the share. Let's see. Can't remember what that one was. Sometimes I go back and can't remember. This was in Vegas.
Yes, yes, yes. This is what we need to see nationwide. Yesterday. Wow, that goes on and on. There's a lot of people. That's freaking awesome. Is your mic muted, Sonny?
Yes. Sorry.
I was wondering why you're so quiet.
I was just saying that you never know where the clips, what year they're from or when or what event type of thing. You hope that they're what the person is portraying them as. But this is a funny. Oh, I lost my sound.
It's muted on Twitter.
Oh, it
yeah,
is.
There you go.
Gosh, here I'm having issues. All right, go back.
Well, COVID, looks like we win. Have you met my variant, Delta?
Hey. I quit. Dude, we have to fight him. What are we, the Avengers?
We're vaccines.
Vaccines assemble. Clowns. This is our job. My job was to make safe sunscreen, too.
You make sunscreen.
Not safely.
You can get sued for that.
Please, I'm already involved in more suits than a men's warehouse. Refill? Well, this sucks.
Well, COVID, looks like we win. Have you met...
I wish that it must have stopped and I didn't realize it and it started again, but I thought that was kind of funny. I wish the clips were longer, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the model of TikTok, right? Short videos.
Yeah, what is the deal with TikTok? Is it so many of them cut off in Twitter? And it's like, it's weird that they don't show the whole clip. I don't know how long TikTok videos can be, because some of them be like 250, or a minute 35.
Weird.
So I don't know. Did you see all these weather clips where it was looking like they faked it?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've been seeing that for some time. Yeah. I think the one with Anderson Cooper standing in the ditch with the water up to his chest was probably the worst one. And there's just people walking in the background look at this ass clown.
I think that's what this one is. Yeah. Fakers.
It's amazing. Well, it looks like Adel is in the building.
Isn't it cool that they're being caught in real time, though? More than ever, we're debunking what they're doing and, caught on to them.
Oh, I tell you what, one of the biggest mistakes they ever made was giving us cell phones with cameras attached to them.
The best part is none of them have it figured it out or have adjusted their tactics accordingly. It's like they used to have this track that was clear and good to go, and then all of a sudden a giant fortified steel and brick wall was put in the way, and they just keep running into it, they haven't diverted it or try to figure out how to climb it or go around it or dig under it. They just keep running full speed into that motherfucking wall over and over again, and it's just it's just incredible.
I just saw somebody complaining today, a blue check mark complaining, every time something happens, now all these people who think they're journalists, citizen journalists, spew, all these news channels spew all this stuff, and it's oh my gosh, that's too funny. Darn, they scooped you, not scooped you. People don't like that word, but you know what I mean. They got to it first, and
yep,
they got ahead of it. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, you guys have a great show.
Thank you very much, Sunny.
All right. We'll see you sunny days.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Adel. Unlike last week, I'm going to actually remember to play our intro. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds fantastic.
All right, let's go ahead and do it. The New Guard, everyone, starting in 3, 2, 1.
What they did to Portland, and nothing happens to Antifa, and nothing happens to BLM. But to people that are patriots or conservatives or Republicans, they stay in jails for extended periods of time and they destroy their lives. Republicans must never waver in demanding that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That election, our election, was over at 10 o'clock in the evening. We're leading Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia by hundreds of thousands of votes. And then late in the evening or early in the morning, boom, these explosions of bullshit. And all of a sudden, it started to happen.
You are now watching The New Guard here on the 5x5 network, where sometimes Pixels completely forgets of something witty, Jesus. Where sometimes Pixels can't even speak and has completely forgotten to think of something witty to say. Adel, take it away, my friend.
Welcome, everybody. That was quite the introduction there, man. No, good to be with everybody today. Welcome to the 5x5 network. If you're just tuning in now, my name is Adel Nero. My good friend Seasoned Pixels over here riding shotgun with me for a little weekly Wednesday evening show we call The New Guard here on the 5x5 network. So it's great to be with everybody today. For another Wednesday, and Pixels, it's always a pleasure, my friend. What's happening in the world of Seasoned Pixels this week?
Well, I mean, this week I've been incredibly frustrated with all of the developments, but I will say that today I'm really happy about the weather. I mean, you should be here, Adel. You'd be floored. Perfect 75 degrees, barely a cloud in the sky, just absolutely amazing. Perfect day to sit out on the porch. Instead, I'm down here speaking to my good friend, and I think I'd rather be down here speaking to you instead of sitting on the porch. But anyway, that's pretty much what's going on. Shitty news, a couple victories out there today, but great weather.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same about the weather here. It's been shitty and rainy in my neck of the woods for the past 3 or 4 days. So I think tomorrow the weather is finally going to start to turn and change a little bit for the better. So fingers crossed on that. But yeah, man, just hanging in there. I agree with you as far as the news. I disagree about the frustrating aspects of it. Like the news itself, I don't find frustrating. I find it to be predictable and basically right on par for what I expect. What's more frustrating to me is the amount of people out there that just either are unaware, don't care, or actively lying to themselves to support a worldview essentially molded by fraud, deception, and a spin of a narrative. That's what gets me more irritated. It's not, the propagandists are going to do what they do. It's how fucking stupid are we as a country that we keep allowing this to go on or continue complying with the nonsense based on what we're seeing here, because that's what's amazing to me. It's the fact that people continue to entertain and go along with and just support it.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating part.
No, and what was it, yesterday or the day before, you were kind of speaking about this on your channel. I was listening in. And it was a good conversation, because you're basically saying, like, I'm so sick and damn tired of being, like, nice and just letting it go, right? When I see somebody, like, totally, who's brainwashed to a very high degree and just going along with all of this crap. I have to agree with you, man. It's getting so exhausting when, the truth, it has never been more, at least to me, the truth has never been more obvious and just right in your face. and yet there's people out there who still continue to go along with this narrative, and I don't. It's something that's got to break, and for me, I feel the exact same way that you do. Like, I'm so sick and tired of just like keeping my mouth shut and like not telling them that, like, guess what, buddy, you're brainwashed and stupid, and you should probably stop listening to the man on the television who you rely on completely to build your worldview. You should probably start building your own damn worldview, you know? I don't know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, like, I think most of us, you know, believe in being compassionate and empathetic, and you know, you always want to turn the other cheek, and I get that. Like, I do understand that. I do think that's a great mindset to be in most of the time, but it's like, yeah, it is just harder to stay in that lane right now, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you just want to ask people, like, to me, like, that's my first reaction, or the first thing that comes into my head when I see someone, you know, mandating a mask, or, you know, telling me to get the vaccine, or you know, speaking about COVID as if it's something that we all need to, like, really, like, I don't, at first, like last spring, right, my mindset was like, oh man, this poor person is traumatized, you know, they've been, and, you know, like, you feel for them a little bit, you kind of want to coddle them along, right? 2021 right now, Pixels, my reaction is, are you fucking retarded?
Yeah.
Like, are you, like, do you have a head injury? Were you dropped as a child? Why? Like, how are you this fucking stupid? Like, how are you still going along with this? Like, put on a helmet, you know, get a coloring book, go sit in the corner and try not to bother the adults. You know, like, that's kind of like where I go. I have no patience. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're completely right. And I think it's hitting on a societal concept that I've had in my mind for a while. And I even saw a meme or an image or something where it was like some left-wing people were pushing on, like, oh, you need to pressure people to get vaccinated and publicly shame them because shame works. And I found that very profound. Shame does work, right? I don't see at this point anything wrong with shaming people who have gone along with this narrative, because it's them who are allowing this system of authoritarianism and control to root itself. And as far as I'm concerned, if you support authoritarianism, then you should be shamed. I don't see anything wrong with societal pressure, with shaming people for believing in a certain thing, especially if that thing takes freedoms away from us, right? Or it takes our bodily autonomy away from us. So I think we can't shy away from that. That's the way that societies have kept themselves in check. That's the way that morality has been kept alive throughout thousands of years, is if you're doing something immoral, or if you believe something immoral, well, then guess what? You get to be shamed by the rest of society who doesn't believe in those immoral things, right?
And I know there's people out there that are like, Adel, it's really not the mindset you should take. Like, you shouldn't treat people like that. You shouldn't think about people like that. You need to be more compassionate. And yeah, you're right. But also, here's where compassion gets you. To where, on what's supposed to be a legitimate news station that is on national television, that's a MSNBC, an official source, one of the highly rated cable news networks out there, you can have shit like this happen.
Sound. You can have shit like this happen where Adel forgets to share his sound.
Oh, doesn't even hold a candle. I played this about 30 times on my show today. Listen.
Interview with ABC News, but the White House press corps and the American people have a lot of direct questions for him. Will he take those today?
The president never shies away from taking questions. I'll let him make a decision if he's going to take questions this afternoon.
Will he take those
today?
Oh,
really?
The president never shies away from taking questions. I'll let him make a decision if he's going to take questions.
Will he take those today?
The president never shies away from taking questions. I'll let him make a decision if he's going to take questions this afternoon.
See, this is the problem, and this is why I want to be more aggressive in my responses, because when you're not, and you sit there and you allow people to live in their bubble unimpeded, undisturbed, and you allow this fake reality bubble to detach from the rest of us, then what you get is an establishment so emboldened by their ability to just lie and create a completely false reality out of nothing, that after 2 weeks of watching his bumbling old resident in chief go up there, speak a bunch of nonsense, turn his back to a bunch of screaming reporters without taking a single question, or the times where he does take questions. I've been instructed to call on these people in this order. He corrected the one journalist who asked the wrong fucking question. So after weeks of seeing this, seeing him turning his back on the American people over and over and over and over again, you can have this woman come up on a national news station and say, oh, he never shies away from asking questions. And then what you'll have is this reporter, this investigative journalist who will look you in the eye and say, we're down the middle, unbiased, hard-hitting investigative journalism. He'll look you in the eye and say that. And meanwhile, this woman will come up there and just tell a completely bold-faced nonsense statement like that after weeks of evidence of the contrary. And this asshole, who's supposed to be the adult in the room and holding people accountable for what they say and making sure his audience is well informed and not being misled or deceived, he's going to sit there with a blank expression on his face and let her walk right past that one. And this is why my response has gone from, this poor person is scared and traumatized and should be coddled, to, are you fucking retarded? Because I just don't have it anymore. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to be patient anymore with these people. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. The entire world is screaming, wake up, and you're either willfully ignorant or too distracted. Either way, you're in my way at this point. You're in my way. And
I want to go back to my point here, Adel, because I think you're so right. I think it really is time for us to stop biting our tongues and just start throwing truth right in people's faces. They need this, okay? Here's the thing about a lot of liberals. They don't even have, a lot of them don't even, when you ask them about what their policy positions are, they have nothing to tell you, right? The only reason they consider themselves on the left is because they feel like that's the socially acceptable thing to be, right? They feel as though, I'm on the good side if I'm on the left, LGBTQ, elemental P, great, yeah, Black Lives Matter, yeah, because they feel societal pressure by all their idiot friends and people just generally in society. They feel like they're supposed to be in that thing. Here's the thing: when they're cowards. They have absolutely no. They have absolutely no compass which guides them from within. It's all just follow the herd mentality, right? They don't have what's the word I'm looking for? Oh God, why is
the
it
intestinal
always...
fortitude to call out any kind of nonsense, right? I think that's where you're going, right?
They don't have their own beliefs. They don't have the central.
It's the point. It's the path of least resistance to do whatever the establishment tells you, right? If Amazon, Walmart, and 19 or 20 of the top 22 biggest corporations on the planet are all telling me that this is the ideology that I should have, and then all of the major media companies, all of the entertainment, everything that's put in front of me through official sources and official information comes out and says this is the ideology that's acceptable, then there's the path of least resistance is to run with that full speed ahead, because you're going to be encouraged every step of the way by all the people in charge to do it. It takes someone that has some kind of intestinal fortitude and self-control and self-discipline and self-confidence, and the ability to not be swayed by groupthink, to examine the information, actually look at it and see if it makes any sense, and then when it doesn't, to stand up in front of those people and say, hey, wait a minute, there's something wrong here, despite all of that momentum going in the opposite direction. And what's crazy right now, Pixels, what's crazy is most people agree with us. Most people, 2 to 1 probably, are on our side, but between the megaphone and just the thick-headedness of the true believers on the other side, it feels different.
Yeah. No, let me finish my point though.
Sorry,
Real
buddy.
quick. Barry Dillon out there says being a liberal is easy. Follow the crowd, no independent thought. Exactly is what I'm trying to drive home here. Well, the word I was trying to think of here was convictions. These people are not guided by their convictions. They have no convictions. They're only guided by this feeling like they have to follow the crowd, or they'll be, cast out like a leper from their little friend groups or whatever. Or they'll be, excoriated by some crazy Karen with 8 masks on, okay? Here's the deal. Like Adel said, we are the majority. We are the clear majority here. In general society, I think that most people, at least secretly, agree with what we're saying and, agree with our side. All we have to do, therefore, is to stop being cowards. Speak up. And I mean, in any public space that you can, speak up. Right? If you see someone in a grocery store, like, you're saying to some kid or something like, "Oh, put your mask over your nose," step in and say, "You know what? Leave the kid alone." All right? You're basing this off of zero facts. The masks don't even work. You're stupid for thinking the masks work. Guess what? Now this person who's in this matrix controlled mindset is gonna start thinking to themselves like, "Holy crap! I thought that I was on the right side here. I didn't think that I'd be excoriated by anybody for my beliefs in this narrative," right? Now they're gonna start feeling that pressure to be like, "Oh wow, maybe I shouldn't," because the more I'm acting like a Karen, the more people are going to push back against me, and they don't like being pushed back against societally.
Well,
or socially.
it might force a moment of self-reflection too, right?
Sure.
Because these people are never checked, right? They're never checked. All of these people who play victim card basically or have that mindset, no one ever calls them out, in life.
Exactly.
And they, right? So in that example you just gave, right? Liberal robot, NPC goes in there and yells at a kid in the grocery store to put their mask over their nose or whatever.
Mhm.
And then
Like an
someone like
agent in
you,
the Matrix.
yeah, someone like you steps in and says, "Hey, mind your business," like whatever, and maybe drops some facts, maybe just says, "Mind your business," like this disease doesn't hurt kids or whatever it is. But just that pushback, maybe later in the day they go home and they're like, "Holy shit!" Like maybe there is like another way of looking at this, or just any opportunity to cause someone to stop and look at things from a different perspective than they normally would, I think is productive. I'm not saying
these people don't like confrontation, and you know what they really like? They like feeling like a hero. They like feeling like, that's where the social justice warrior mindset comes from. It's the same thing we're dealing with this COVID shit, right? If they no longer feel like a hero, and instead they start realizing like, "Oh wow, everyone around me is thinking like, look at this Karen bitch, like being completely ridiculous." When it starts to become embarrassing instead of something that holds them up as some sort of hero in their mind, they will immediately stop the crap.
Yeah, I think the non-confrontational. I think the left is more confrontational than the right, and that's part of our problem.
They like confronting, but they don't like being confronted.
Yeah, no, they like confronting. They don't like being confronted. But these people, I think, like making the scene a bit more. I think if you're going to talk about a group of people being non-confrontational to a fault, it's conservatives, because I know that we have the numbers. And I go to the store during this whole nonsense. I was almost always the only person not wearing a mask, and I know I'm not the only person in there that knows the mask is nonsense. I know I'm not, but I'm the only one in there willing to tell someone to go fuck themselves, or at least say something, or force someone to come and make me put it on, at the very least. So it's like, because of that, we put up with how long of the masks and the nonsense, just because people on our side didn't stand up for their convictions or weren't willing to say, "I'm not doing that," or "I'm not complying." So that goes both ways.
Yep.
I think humans in general are fairly non-confrontational. I think we're all in general pretty non-confrontational. I don't think any of us want to get into each other's business or really mess with people.
Except those people out there who are mentally ill and have an authority complex.
Yes. Yeah, and there's plenty of those too.
There's a lot of them. And I think the COVID situation put them right out in the open. It was like, they're like, oh boy, I get to be the cop, you know?
Dude, it's so funny you say that, because I could think of a few. I was at an IKEA, right? Just because you brought it up, and it just because these kind of people. I was at an IKEA, and they had a mask policy, but if you didn't want to wear a mask, you can ask up at the front. Like, I had people sitting outside. You say, like, hey, can I have an orange band? And they'll give you an orange band, and then no one will bother you about a mask in there, whatever. So I went in there. I wasn't wearing a mask, right? And I guess I was going and picking out my stuff. This guy could see that I didn't have a mask on. He was, no joke, dude, at least 100 yards away. Like, he was.
Oh God! No.
You should have seen this fucking turd just power walking across the store to come tell me. Oh my God. And I could just see him out of the corner of my eye. Like, at first, like, there's no way this is about the fact, like, he's not gonna come this far to tell me. Like, a few seconds, he's still just hoofing it over there. And I let him get about 10 feet from me. And I was like, I just go and then watch him deflate and then walk all the way back across. Dude, it was hysterical. But it just, like, you could tell that person was like, yes, I get to go, like, police somebody. I can't wait. It's just like this like so needed, this sense of self-purpose. Like, this person probably has absolutely, like, no significant, like, they're just not significant in any other aspect of their life. They live a very meaningless, sad, pathetic existence, apparently, because you could see the highlight of this person's day is to go and tell people, like, oh, you're breaking the rule and you gotta stop. Fucking those kind of people, man, all of them go get bent. Just go get bent. I have no time for those kind of people. Sorry 100%. For the anecdotal story. It's just, when you said that, all I could think about was this fucking little turd just, like, power walking across the IKEA.
I can picture it in my head.
Dude, it's just,
oh my God. And I'm sure you were loving it because you were thinking of, like, that, what can I say to this guy?
It just kills me. Like, this is this person's, like, existence. Like, this is, in his mind, like, he is fulfilling an important role in society. Like, in his head, like, it's like this altruistic, like, I'm gonna go and make a positive difference in the world by coming after this non-masker.
You know what we should do? Like those, like those cops carry around, like, cop badge stickers for kids whenever they see kids, like, cleaning up trash or something. They give them one. We should get, like, a bunch of these, and anytime someone, like, tells us to wear a mask, they just hand them one of those lame stickers and be like, congratulations, COVID cop. Dude. Like, here's a comment out here that's beautiful, right? USA Landshark says, grocery checker told me to put a mask on. I said, thank you, comrade. Next time I saw her, no mask. Exactly. These people do, like, as soon as you start, like, making fun of them and laughing in their face, like the freaking laughing stocks that they are, they start thinking to themselves, gee, maybe I shouldn't be an insufferable prick.
Yeah. Thumper Rosa's hall monitor failures. That's exactly, these people aren't the hall monitors in school, man. That's exactly it. Quit running in the hall! I have authority, damn it. You will respect it.
Respect my authority. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly who they are. They are the kids in school that wanted to be the hall monitors so they could tell you that you're whatever. I'll never forget that, man, because that person at the IKEA, that worker there, like, he right there, he is, like, he has become the, how do you put it, like, the archetype for an entire population in this country. Like, that person in my mind has become the archetype for an entire segment of the population in this country. The hall monitor, mask police, the vax police. I'm gonna, the white knights out there that are gonna save us all by getting into all of our business and making sure that we're all thoroughly annoyed.
USA Landshark out there says, great sticker idea, making those now. So there it is. I've spawned something beautiful. I can't wait. I need some of these mailed to me. Can you make, like, a custom, like, COVID cop badge sticker for people? Oh, it'd be amazing.
So, how did you stop him? So, if at IKEA, all you have to do is just say, I have a health concern, and they don't make you wear a mask, but they will ask you to wear this little orange band just so like other employees won't bother you. So whatever. Like I put the orange band on.
Blow your fucking mind. Like it's crazy, like syncopated, like offbeat, but it works type drumming.
Nice.
Yeah, it's totally awesome. I'll have to show you after the show here. I don't know if we can get back on air. Uh-oh, I think maybe. I think maybe we're back.
I don't see us on D Live.
We are back. We're back. We're back on.
We're on?
Yeah, we're back on Foxhole. Everyone give us a 5x5 if you can hear us.
Five by five, you're up.
All right, we are here. Right on. Only lost a few minutes there too, so cool.
Sweet. Should we play the intro again?
Is that a joke?
I feel like it's like us. I don't know. No, we shouldn't.
So yeah, I think we dropped off when I asked you if you had anything else that you wanted to bring up today.
Actually, there was a story that I actually hadn't had a chance to even really read myself yet, and I covered at the very end of my show, but didn't really get any detail on it because we had the new guard to jump into here. So this right here, Matt Gaetz was right. Con man Stephen Alford indicted for attempted extortion of Representative Gaetz' family of $25 million. So the New York Times published a hit piece targeting popular Trump supporter Representative Matt Gaetz, saying the Florida congressman was under investigation for dating a 17-year-old girl. The Gateway pundit later spoke with a source close to Matt Gaetz, who told us this report is completely false. Gaetz is not target of the investigation. We are also told none of the women he was seeing were underage. It's not a surprise that that the left is after Gaetz, since he is such an effective communicator and a staunch Trump supporter. Rep. Gaetz told Axios the allegations were as searing as they are false. On Tuesday night, Representative Matt Gaetz joined Tucker Carlson to discuss the New York Times hit piece. Gaetz unloaded on a former Justice Department official who is threatening his family and accused one of his. All right, so here's what Matt Gaetz said. It says, what is happening is extortion of me and my family involving a former Justice Department official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations of me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI, and the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their discretion, which will prove my innocence. These allegations aren't true, and they were meant to bleed my family. This former Department of Justice official tomorrow was supposed to be contacted by my father so that specific instruction could be given regarding the wiring of $4.5 million as a down payment on this bribe. I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight somehow the New York Times is leaking this information, smearing me and ruining the investigation. Carlson responded, first of all, who is this Department of Justice former employee who is trying to extort money from you? Rep. Matt Gaetz says his name is David McGee. He currently works at the Beggs and Lane law firm. So he's been identified. Over the past several weeks, my family and I have been victims of an organized criminal extortion involving the former DOJ official seeking $25 million while threatening to smear my name. We have been cooperating with federal authorities in this matter, and my father has been even been wearing a wire at the FBI's direction to catch these criminals. The planted leak to the New York Times tonight was intended to thwart that investigation. No part of the allegations against me are true, and the people pushing these lies are targets of the ongoing extortion investigation. I demand the DOJ immediately release tapes. made at their direction, which implicate their former colleague in crimes against me based on false allegations. So on Tuesday, federal prosecutors accused Stephen Alford of trying to defraud U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz' father, Don Gaetz, out of $25 million. Reuters reported that federal prosecutors on Tuesday accused a Florida man of trying to defraud U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz' father, Don Gaetz, out of $25 million in a scheme allegedly linked to a criminal investigation targeting the Republican congressman. So all of this finally coming out, and it looks like Matt Gaetz will be exonerated, vindicated, and his good name cleared, and that's good. Fuck the New York Times. This is absolutely disgusting. You know, they're supposed to be the paper of record, and here they are colluding with former Justice Department, criminals trying to extort and smear and basically slander a congressman.
No,
You know what
I mean,
It's-
I think what they were trying to do was destroy the guy's political career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're trying to destroy a political career, and basically, yeah, the news, what's supposed to be the news, right? Unbiased, just reporting of the facts, has become basically an assassination outfit. You know, like a character assassination service for a political party. Pretty crazy times.
It's really beautiful to me to see in real time these people trying to destroy him, right? And then it just turns around and bites them right on the ass. I never in a million years would have expected this to go this way, and I'm just happy that it has. And that's really all I have to say about it. I can't wait to see him get exonerated, and this person who tried to extort him and his family, well, I mean, looks like they're being put behind bars here. So it's really insane.
Let's not get too crazy.
Well, I mean, he has been indicted, so there's that. I mean, right? But you know, there's still a trial. All right. So on my side here, McConnell says Biden's not going to be impeached. Not a surprise there, coming from the turtle. Anything to say about it, Adel?
I mean, I won't act like I'm upset about it, because we knew that Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy weren't going to be aggressive. They're spineless. They're spineless, weak men. So it's not surprising. And McConnell's not wrong. He's not going to be.
Yeah,
removed.
he is saying that, you know, Congress is basically controlled by the Democrats. That's why it's not going to happen. But I'm still disappointed that McConnell wouldn't even try, because we've been watching over the past couple weeks the Biden administration almost committing treason. It feels like on a daily basis, you know. So it's like, I don't know.
It's the only reason it's disappointing is that Republicans were a complete punching bag with 2 impeachments, right? They really allowed the Democrats to walk all over them through 2 impeachments. They allowed the Democrats to weaponize the impeachment process. They had very little to say about it. They had very little to do with it, and to not even show the fight or the, you know what I mean? It's just like it's just such a weak mindset. Oh, it's not going to work, so why bother? No, draft the articles, put them out there. At least show people that you give a fuck.
Right.
And it's just like just dead weak men in there. Like, they might as well just not even show up. Mitch McConnell is just go retire. Just go retire and fuck off to whatever boring hobbies you have as a 85-year-old dude. Just get out of the way. You're dead weight. You're nothing. You're the shell of a man.
That's exactly what he's supposed to be.
Completely controlled by big money donors. You're doing nothing for the American people. You've already made your nut. Just get the fuck out of the way. I'm so sick of him and everyone like him. Like, yeah. I can't wait for some turnover.
Yeah, the McConnells and the Mitt Romneys and, you know, too many of them to name, but
anyone that's been in that building for more than 3 or 4 years. It's just it just sucks your soul and leaves nothing left.
Yep, 100%, dude. Well, here's another one here from the National Review. National Review. General Mark Milley says it's possible that the U.S. will work with the Taliban on future missions against ISIS-K, which almost sounds like a breakfast cereal.
We were bombing these people 2 weeks ago. We were at war with them and bombing them 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we were fighting the Taliban.
And
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and now they're already. I mean, I saw that story you were covering, and I covered this yesterday of Jake Sullivan saying like, oh, it's possible we'll be giving aid to the Taliban here, but he was like, oh no, it's going to go directly to the Afghan people. Like, how the hell do you expect to do that without going through the Taliban, you moron? Now with this General Milley, so they're propping the Taliban up as like somehow they're a legitimate regime. And somehow they've gone from enemies to like our partners in the region. Like, do we even need to say anything about this, Adel? I'm pretty sure this is about as cut and dry, ridiculous as you can get. To your point, 2 weeks ago we were bombing these people, and now we're treating them like they're some kind of ally to us. I can't.
Again, this is. This is why I just don't have the patience for people anymore. This cocksucker was sitting in front of Congress talking about white rage while this whole situation in Afghanistan was being planned out. Yep. We've had a complete. I mean, if you see some of the shit that's come out today as far as what they knew and when they knew it, they had the suicide bomber ready to be shot down by a drone strike, and they chose not to let him continue. There's just no accountability. How is this guy still in uniform? How is he not resigned?
He should be court-martialed.
And it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now we're going to be running missions side by side with the fucking Taliban. What has happened? What has happened? We went from don't touch a single United States soldier or you will be retaliated against with the fury of God to we're going to be running missions with these guys after they allowed 13 of our soldiers to be.
Yeah.
What a joke.
And even after they let that ISIS suicide bomber through, right? The Taliban did. Our government was still saying, like, we're relying on the Taliban to, like, for damn it.
That's all right.
Ay.
Yeah, dude, it is hard. It is getting way harder, though, to, like... I used to, like, go to my parents' house and talk politics with them. Like, we don't see eye to eye at all. Like my mom and dad and I, like we'd have discussions, and like I'm done. Like I have no interest in having any talks with them anymore because it's just like
totally brainwashed. That's how my grandpa is, man.
They go
my 95-year-old grandfather literally watches CNN all day, every day. He's got it literally like plugged into his hearing aids.
Are we back? We're back.
Are we back?
Yeah.
So I feel you, man. There's some people that you just can't even have a conversation with. Looks like we are back. All right, so we've got 9 minutes left. What else do we want to talk about here? I found this really interesting, Adel, from the Epoch Times. Did you see this one today? Companies that comply with House Democrats' probe may lose ability to operate in the U.S., according to McCarthy. Social media and telecommunication companies that turn over information to House Democrats would be violating federal law, the top Republican in the lower chamber said Tuesday. I mean, you would hope, right, that they'd be held accountable for giving personal information on American citizens to the government, basically acting as a not only the propaganda arm of the government and the censorship of people, but then also as a spying tool. It's just, that's insane to me. So hopefully McCarthy's right here. Anything to say about this one, Al?
It's so hard for me right now to imagine accountability for any let's say AT&T or Verizon, comply with the committee and they hand over. I'm just asking you guys, do any of you envision a world where companies that big and powerful are actually held accountable? Are we really going to close down the U.S. market to Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile or these? Is that really on the table? Is it really on the table? Is there any real threat to these companies? I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there is a world in which a judge or Congress or Department of Justice or somebody out there actually upholds the rule of law equally for someone that powerful. But it's really hard for me, Pixels, to close my eyes and imagine any teeth behind what he's saying, actually, you know what I mean? We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Since we haven't seen it yet, now, what reason do we have to believe that it could happen?
Yeah.
Right. And it's hard to say. It's hard to say. K-Mac out there, thank you very much for the cookie. I don't know, man. It looks like the companies include Apple, Gab, Parler, and T-Mobile. These are the people they're trying to obtain records from. And I think as far as Apple goes, I really wish there was another alternative out there, a popular one, other than Apple and Google for phones, right? Because then that would create monetary accountability, right? Yep. If enough people got pissed off enough about Apple or Google sharing private information with the government, then a lot of people would just go to that competitor. But we don't really have a viable competitor right now. I know that there's, as far as telecommunications, you've got Patriot Mobile out there. You've got what's the Gab phone that's being created. There was some other Patriot phone, whatever the hell,
phone or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But I just don't think that they're big enough right now to really cause that kind of an impact. So I don't know. I mean, and I saw a comment out there saying McCarthy can say what he wants, but action is really what matters. But the problem is McCarthy's powerless to do anything about this anyways. He's just paying lip service to it. It would be the Department of Justice would have to indict these companies, right, on this federal law. And with the Department of Justice headed by Merrick Garland, can you imagine that would even happen? I highly doubt it. The other thing is that I'm worried about, the Durham investigation. Are we going to see a damn thing from the Durham investigation now that Merrick Garland is heading the Department of Justice? I used to think that since he was a special counsel, that Garland was limited in what he can do. But it turns out he can actually just not give funding to the investigation, and there you go, poof, gone. So it's just that's another angle of the Department of Justice that I'm worried about is that entire investigation is probably going to be buried and we'll never see anything from it.
If it makes you feel any better, really the Department of Justice is in no worse shape now than it was under Trump.
You're absolutely correct. And that's the thing that I've been thinking of lately, this idea that it's not really worse right now. It's just never been so out in the open. We've never actually paid attention to see how bad things really are. I mean, the FDA, for example, has been doing crazy shit like what they've just recently done with the vaccines. They've been doing that crap for all kinds of drugs for as long as they've been around. The people are just now getting around to